Well, hello there.
Hello, hello. How are you?
It's so nice to see you, my fellow wicked. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm kind of getting tired of it raining and cold, but
Yes, I know the feeling. I've got exactly the same weather over here. And may I just say, you look really damn sexy tonight.
well, back at you, lady. You look really good.
Well, it took a while to find the right outfit, but just threw myself together as you do. I just want to wish everybody a good day, happy Sunday, and also welcome back to Wicked Women, or maybe welcome to Wicked Women for the first time. We've been gone a while now.
We have.
It has
We
been
have.
so tough. We've had such a tough year. The
Yeah.
Wickeds have really gone through a tough time, and it's kind of got to the point where we're like, when is it going to end? When is it going?
I just don't look for it to.
I know.
I just keep waiting on the next thing to happen.
Because we would schedule the show for the next Sunday, and then the Sunday would come up, and we'd be like, "No, not doing it," and then the next one. So, but we're here, we're back, and I have to bring in another fellow Wicked, which I'm so happy to see her back. And may I say, from my second home, Calgary, here she is. Hello,
Hello, beautiful people.
she's here.
How are you?
Yay.
I'm here. I made it.
Calgary, London, and Virginia. I mean, hey, you can't get better than that, can you?
No, you can't.
Can't get no more different than that.
How are you doing, Kay?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy it's not freezing cold, snow on the ground, but it's not freezing, so it's manageable.
It's gonna come, you know that. It's
I
not gonna be
know.
far
That's
away,
why I'm
right?
kind of just like, oh, can we just make this happen already? I feel like the longer it stays away, the more the vengeance it hits with, you know?
I'm
Yeah.
kind of hoping it's saving itself for me for when I come over in the new year. It's like, yes, she's here. Let's snow.
Yes. I mean, Calgary wouldn't be Calgary in the winter without snow, right? It just looks dead and brown and gray. I'm like, okay, let's just put the snow on the ground. It looks better anyway. Let's get this show on the
Just
road.
cover all that up.
Mhm.
Well, this is a show that we have been trying to do for months, literally months, because it was, and the thing with Robertson and Wicked Women, we are given, people get in touch with us and they say, will you look at this subject? Will you tackle this subject? And this was given to me a while ago by somebody who said, I really need to know why this happens. And the subject is the reason why men lie, or men that lie. And everybody lies. Nobody here is stupid enough to say that we do not lie, or no one tells a white lie or anything. But this is all about a guy and why a guy lies. And I think that just by asking the two ladies here at the moment, like, we've all been lied to by a guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
It does.
Especially when it's over and over again.
Yes. You're like, hang on, deja vu.
Yeah.
And I think also from a psychological point of view, if you're with someone who's lying and continues to lie, it affects you. It really affects you psychologically. And you'll end up being very damaged from it. And I don't think that there's a very true saying, you can catch a thief, but you can't catch a liar. I actually think you can if you're you're savvy enough. Kate, I mean, in your lifetime, I know you've been through this as well, but did it affect you badly when it happened to you?
It did. And I think the biggest aspect of it was the trust piece, because it starts to fuck with your mind so much that you almost don't trust yourself anymore, because it's like it got to the point that you knew the lies were happening, and the story would just get so outlandish, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to go out on a whim and believe this anyway. But you innately knew, like, I innately knew this is not the truth. I know this isn't the truth. And then you don't even trust yourself. Am I going to believe it the next time? Like, it just becomes this cyclical pattern. And It actually wasn't until, you know, I had some marriage issues come up that I had to look at what are the real reasons psychologically that men do lie, or even just like humans in general, not just men, women, we all lie, we all have lied. And I think at the end of the day, there's just so many reasons in every single relationship. It's not just because somebody's a narcissist. That's one facet of why it could be. But it also could be things such as, you know, even as children, if you have developed a shadow as a man that you're not good enough, you're a failure, you take that belief with you all throughout your life. So then fast forward to the future, you become in a relationship with a woman.
Absolutely.
And the number one thing a man innately is made to do is protect a woman. So if they're constantly terrified and they have that shadow side that I am going to be a failure, what are they going to do? They're even going to want to protect the woman if it's even from themselves, because they don't want to be a failure. So, I mean, we can get into it further, but it's just, there's so many reasons. But at the end of the day, it's like, I think oftentimes this was ingrained in people way beyond it even happening in the relationship. It was something in their childhood that taught them you're not innately good, or you have to be accepted to be loved and seen and heard and valued. So if they think I'm going to be a failure, it's easier to lie than to tell the truth because they want to protect the woman. In many aspects, I think that's what it was. But what I was going to say in the situation that came up just with challenges in my marriage, and it wasn't even around lying, it was just communication is so hard, even for the average person. Never mind, I mean, Wendy, you and I have psychological backgrounds, and even at that, communication can be hard in relationships. So it's like, if you think that it's going to be a struggle to tell somebody something, it's so easy to just be like, you know what, I'm just going to tell this little white lie today, bypass having to have this argument. And the second that happens, that neural pathway develops, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And that's really where it starts.
And it's so true because, you know, as you said, we both have psychological backgrounds. We've both trained. We've both done, you know, counseling and everything. And it's got to a point where you think as counselors, we'd be really good. But it's like, it does affect you. And I think it's also a way of avoiding conflict. A lot of people will lie to avoid conflict. It's like, I don't want to upset them. I don't want to rock the boat. You know, and they something they learn. You know, for instance, you're dating someone or you're with someone and they ask you a question and you think, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to answer that. How am I going to, you know, do this, that, and the other? So what they tend to do is they bypass it. I mean, you know, the new lying is ghosting now, because hey, you can't really argue or get a lie from someone that doesn't actually say anything to you. But it's it comes to a point where you're like, when you're with someone who is a pathological liar or has done it so often, you don't know the truth from a lie in the end. Because I in my marriage, I mean, there was so many lies that in the end everything that came out of their mouth, I was like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to, you know, I don't know what to take anymore. And it affected me, because how can you be with someone if you're not honest? How can you not build on something if you're not honest? You have to start from a foundation of honesty. And if it starts from, which mine one did, it started from a foundation of lies. And you always think that you should listen to that old gut instinct that says, hang on a minute, you know, hang on a minute. But sometimes ourselves, we don't want to listen to that. So I think you're right. Conflict is a way of protection, avoiding confrontation, especially if they know they're doing something wrong. And I think if you know someone really well, you will... you'll know them, you'll know the signs, you know, the body language, the tone of voice, the way the eye moves around and everything. I mean, Val, for you, what was your experience of having, you know, being lied to? I mean, what really sort of affected you?
Well, I mean, I think it was little things, trying to be secretive about things that I already knew. You know, and then when you confront them about it, they still lie to your face. even though you're standing there and you know the truth, and you're like, sorry, you're lying, try again, you know.
Mhm.
But I think on the other side that a lot of times men lie because they're afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
You know, something in their past, someone in their past has rejected them for the way they believe, or, you know, things that they've done or whatever, and they're afraid to admit that they've done those things because they were rejected in the past, and they're afraid you will reject them too.
I think that's a good point, because
So
it's to be ashamed, you know.
it's easier to lie about it than to take the chance of being rejected again.
I just want to say that Val is in a particular nasty weather storm at the moment. So the fact that she's even here and coming and going is amazing. I think men also lie, as you're quite right. You know, both of you have said, if they're insecure, if they've done something wrong, if they're ashamed about themselves, they will lie. I knew someone years ago. He came up from a very tough background. Father berated him. He could never do anything right whatsoever. He couldn't, everything he did was wrong, wrong, wrong. So he grew up with this, trying to be this better version of himself and compensating and going in. And even he took this behavior into his latter years, even into his 40s and 50s, he was still getting himself into crap by lying. And I can see I've got some lovely gentlemen waiting to join us down there and to come on, and we'll bring them on in a minute, because I'm sure they're going to want their pound of flesh about this. But it's like, I think when you lie, there is always a reason for it. There is never not a reason for a lie. And it's not like, darling, does my bum look big in this? And, or I can say no, or I can say, well, actually, I think the other one fits you better. I think I think it's also how you're lied to. They've lied to you where they've cheated on you, if they've lied on you where there's another woman, if they have a substance or an alcohol, abuse, and they lie to you, but no, I haven't done it, I haven't gone anything, and they have, or an addiction of some kind. Are they lying, Kay, to protect us, or are they lying to protect themselves in that sort of?
I think it really it's dependent on the circumstance, because take a narcissist, for example. In their own mind, they're not even lying, because the delusion is themselves. They've built this false sense of ego of who they are, what their identity is. And they get so caught up in trying to tell this story to get you to believe that they are this blown up version of themselves, that, again, to them, it isn't a lie. It's just a delusion, and it just keeps you in a trap. So, for instance, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you automatically think they love you and they adore you and they want to do all the best things for you, you don't think any of that's a lie at the beginning, because they come on so hot and heavy and everything just seems so great. And it's just little by little, they feed you these things. And even when they get stuck in the lie, they still make you feel like you're completely delusional for thinking it was a lie to begin with. Well, no, you're in the wrong. You're making this up. It's such a,
well, they make everything seem like your fault.
Exactly.
They'll get caught in a lie, and they almost turn it around to where you lied, not
if you weren't this way, then I wouldn't have to lie like this, or like everything becomes your fault, versus they can't take accountability for anything, because again, that will just completely damage their persona.
Yeah.
I think also protection is a lie protection. Yes, all the while that the lie stays, nobody knows any difference. But I think that once, when the lie comes out, then that's when the damage control really comes in. For instance, obviously, I got married. My ex-husband was on the internet talking to various, actually, no, I rephrase that. a lot of women. And it was a shock to the system that I'd got married and thought that, you know, I had suspicions, but nothing I could confirm. And then to find out that everything I'd based my, you know, all the work and hard work I'd done had been based on a lie. So that damaged me. And I still think, even though I've had therapy, even though I've still had, you know, I've worked on myself over the years, the damage is done. You know, once you've lied to someone, once the trust is broken between you, it's never the same. I'm going to bring a couple of the gentlemen in who are waiting. I'm going to bring the original Mr. Wicked in, who's waiting in the wings. Hello, Michael. How you doing, babe?
Y'all look very, very lovely.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here taking notes on what the women think about how men lie. You know, and I get it, you know, a lot of men are narcissists, but narcissists could come in many shapes, sizes, and forms. I was in a relationship with a really crazy narcissist, but no, a lot of times it does come back to persona, where people have been berated and beat down their whole life, and they construct an alter ego in their mind that they actually start believing their own lie, so they project their own reality out. So it's not really a lie in their multiverse of their imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And I just covered that in abnormal psychology, and I see that in men and women. So, you know, it is a universal thing. You know, men lie. Do they do it to make themselves look better if they think they're punching above their weight, as they say in the UK? Probably.
I've
You
rubbed
know,
off
they
on them.
want to make themselves look better as a prospective partner for a lady. So, you know, they're not going to come in and say, hey, I'm below average here, I only make this much money there, and I drive a 40-year-old car that's beat to shit. So, you know, so they're going to inflate their value.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a little white lie that they got to live up to later. And modern dating has really made it. I watched something the other day. You know, a lot of these times, these women said, I want a man that is 6 foot plus. Okay, you just took a lot of the equation out for, you know, available single men. And they say, I want him to make $500,000 a year. All right, you just took another whole big slice out. Then they also say, you know, I only want him between the ages of 32 and 42. So, you know, then I have heard someone said, well, I don't want him to have any extra weight. He cannot be obese. So they run the numbers and they tell these ladies, you got 0.07 chance of finding your man
Mm-hmm.
with this criteria. So for men to compete with the unreal expectation that a lot of women put on them, if they see a woman and she says, you need to be this, this, and this, if you don't come, if you tell her, hey, I work at the shop, or I work flipping burgers or whatever, and you're not a really, really high, well, some of the money, I don't even think executives make the kind of money a lot of them are asking for.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you don't tell them you drive a Volkswagen, you tell them you drive a Porsche designed by the same guy.
And
Or
once
in the garage.
Once you start the lie, it's like the snowball. It keeps going, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like nuclear fallout. It all starts from a little bitty compression, then the waves go out. You know,
And then people wonder why they're getting catfished. It's like because the expectation out there is too high. It just
It
becomes unattainable.
then on that same thing I was watching, and I was doing it not to trash on women. Oh, y'all know me. You know, I'm very anti-trashing on anybody. And but you know, they come out and they say, and you know, and this is what got me. You know, they'll trash all these men who have to build up a persona even to be in the running, you know, to get a girlfriend. You know, and she might be 80 pounds overweight and looks like she's been hit in the face with a shovel. And they ask her, well, how do you judge yourself? I'm a 10. I'm a bad bitch. I get it done. And you're looking at her like, are you fucking delusional? And I have said that a lot, you know, the dogs and James, they'll be sitting there like, you all right? Which I've been sick, which I have been quicker to blurt out my opinion uncensored here lately. But that's one of the reasons that men lie. They have been cornered so much.
Yeah.
And you know, the elephant in the room, and Keith could probably, if a man wants to get laid, he better fulfill everything that she has constructed in her mind, even to get to that point.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to that, and then Lord help you, which I'm 6'3", so I don't have to worry about it. But a lot of times I say, oh, this guy is 5'9", he's automatically out. And he can make money, but he's short. And if men would do that, the lies could be even the inserts that men put in their shoes to make themselves look bigger.
It's a coping mechanism as well. A lot of people start from a childhood age. I'm going to bring my other Mr. Wicked in here, which is the lovely Keith.
Hey there.
Hello, lovely to see you. How are you doing?
Right back at you. I'm doing well.
So Keith, you're listening to this, and I've got the lovely Jason behind waiting to come in as well. But it's like, tell me, listening to us, what do you think is the reason why behind? Michael comes up with some really good points there. Why do you think that guys lie?
I'm going to use myself as an example. The way I used to be, to get what I want and to not get caught when I'm getting what I want. Protect myself at all costs. I could never be the one doing the wrong things. I would always have to blame it on the other person. Not like that anymore. I won't lie. I might tell you that I can't discuss a subject with you at this point because I need further information, but I'm not going to lie. We're going to sit down. If you want to know something, let's talk.
It feels like we're the Brady Bunch here, because I'm about to bring in Jason, and it's like there's now 3 men to 3 women. I'm starting to fill out voted. Hi, Jason.
All right. So first of all, no. Well, I
Throw the knife in, bud. Throw the knife in. Sheath it. You know what I'm saying? Sheath it.
I don't get to use it very much anymore. I can't. I hung up the uniform back in 15, so being able to knife hand, it's I got to get it in where I can. Otherwise, I go into my little vet withdrawals. No.
Mine up in September 2015. So what was your month? Mine was September 2015.
So February 2nd, 2015. Yeah, February 2nd. So that was after 11 years, 3 months, and 2 days.
Yep.
How many years did you do, Michael?
22. And I'm fighting the VA every day and I'm part of a protected class of veteran that ain't never supposed to lose their benefits. And they said, oh, we can't pay your college no more. And that extra money was given you every month.
Mm-hmm.
Look, so now I'm fighting. They're like, oh, we see your records over here, but it don't show it over here. So we cannot. I was like, then the woman told me I was wrong.
The system is a monster, and it can be very difficult to navigate. And
by the way, 28 days.
28 hard salt days. 28 hard.
I just want to say hello to my podcaster hubby. Hello.
How you doing?
It's good to see you. I feel a bit like we're in the Brady Bunch. We need another woman now to even out. All 3 of us can handle you.
Look over,
Ed writes a really good point. Yes, it isn't just about men, but tonight's topic is, because this was a topic that came to us about why do men lie? Because all of us in our lifetime have either had a man lie to us, or you guys will know you've lied to the ladies, or you've lied, and there's lots of different reasons for it. And it's like, I don't think any of us feel good when we lie. And I do think there is something about when we're growing up, we were all told, if I find out you're lying, or if I find this and the other, you got a backhander or whatever, or maybe you would lie so you didn't get the backhander. You learned it was a coping mechanism to not lie. And being honest sometimes brings consequences. Let's be honest, being really honest can bring consequences, and you don't always want them. Scotty, give us in your opinion, when you've lied and the consequences of that.
Oh, let me see.
Put you on the spot.
When I have lied to a woman,
carry the 4
specific category, or lied in general.
Pull off the sandal and start counting the toes.
Yes.
I blame my private jet to Elon.
You know,
The yacht.
I
And
will
my,
say that I'm sorry, Michael. I'm not hearing you well, and I may have cut you
Oh.
off. Sorry, I
Oh.
didn't mean to talk over you.
I'm just being funny about my boat
oh.
being with Bezos and my plane being with Elon. You know,
Oh, right, yeah.
we're tight like that.
I'd be there in person, but Elon borrowed my plane. Yes.
Yeah.
We're on a first name basis. Elon.
It's a yeah. Just a little.
I would have to say that my lies to women have probably been copious and varied and
You rapscallion.
yeah, that's me. But they have usually been small. They haven't usually been. I have another family in another part of the world, and I'm covering for it. It's nothing like that. It's usually yeah, honey, I did the dishes. Why are you calling to ask me? And I hadn't done them yet. You know, that kind of a thing. I'm trying to think of a silly example. The kinds of lies, and they don't come quickly to my mind. I'm sure if I dwelt on this a little bit, or if you dial up some of the women I know, they go, "Oh, I can tell you some lies, some whoppers." But I am honestly trying to think if I had any big ones. I know that there was, and Wendy, you know all about this. Some of my friends know about this. I wasn't telling a lie as much as I was living something that was lying, and I was trying to cover it up. I had an affair 14 years ago. I already knew you, Wendy, for several years.
Yes.
Now, my affair was not, and people say, well, you shouldn't qualify it. I do. It wasn't a physical affair. It was emotional, which was probably worse. And I kept that covered up, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's like even with Bill Clinton when he lied about Monica Lewinsky. We all knew it. We all knew he was lying, but we all also went, I kind of get it, you know, kind of get why he lied. You get caught in those situations, and sometimes the first thing that comes out is the lie. And with my wife in that situation, the lie was discovered after it was all over. And there was a stray message that came across that she saw. And, well, what's this all about? And then she dug a little deeper, of course. And my first inclination was to say, oh, it was nothing. And within a minute, it was, well, yeah, it was something. And here's where, and it didn't, we're still together today. And this is 14 years ago. But that was the one big lie I think I recall telling. And the lie was more, why did I lie? I'd have to really dig into that a little bit psychologically, other than just the obvious, to cover my ass. But why did I need to cover my ass when I was willing to go that far, when I was willing to take it to that place? So there's some psychology behind it as well. But I needed to, at the time, I don't know. It's a cop-out answer to say I don't know. I don't know is a cop-out answer. So if somebody would ask me, why did you do that? I don't know. Oh, I do know. I know all the particulars of why I did what I did. Sometimes it takes a little explaining, and you got to dig into it and say, okay, here's why I think I did what I did. Is it because I believe I am a bad man at heart? No. Did I do something I shouldn't have done? Yes. Did I hurt people in the process? Yes. So why did I lie? That's a big question. I don't know if that was even your question.
Come on, Kay. Come forward and give Scotty some feedback, because you might have some feedback on that one.
I might have some feedback on that. What do you mean?
Look out.
No.
It's
Brown's
interesting.
incoming.
What do you feel with what he's saying, Kay?
I mean, congrats to you for actually coming forward and being honest with it and actually saving your marriage, because that doesn't actually happen about 90% of the time. So I'm curious as to how long did it take you to finally come forward and speak your truth around it?
About a minute. It was about a minute. I was confronted and immediately lied. and then immediately said, I can't lie about this.
Right.
And so there was a lot of, well, let me think about that for 1 second. There was a lot of having to make amends right away.
But let me ask you this. If she had not seen that text, would you have told her?
I would not have come forward with it. No. Now that's really hard to, let me backpedal a little bit on that. That's really hard to answer because I'm the kind of person that living in a lie would probably eat the shit out of me. I would not be able to live with that.
But you wouldn't at that time. You would have waited till you were ready to do it.
Probably would have waited. Again, probably fearful of the consequences.
Right.
And that's where I'd have to ask myself, you have to look at the psychology of it. Well, why did you do it if you aren't willing to come forward and talk about it?
Well, it
Was it
sounds like in
just-
some aspect you wanted to protect your wife too, and from her getting hurt, right? Obviously,
Right.
love her and
There
do
was
whatever.
that. Because I love my wife. Do we have a perfect relationship? No. We still don't. Do I love her? Yeah. And so, and a lot of people even poo-poo that. They say, well, love only gets you so far. I don't care what anybody says. I think when you love somebody, there's a lot of things you do. And when you screw up, there's a lot of things you try to do to preserve that.
Mhm.
I told her at the time, even within the one conversation of her talking about it with me, was by all rights, you can walk out.
Mhm.
And I won't stop you if that's what you want to do. And I remember telling her at the time, I wish you wouldn't, because I didn't follow through with where this could have gone, because I said to the woman, and the woman was a very good woman. She got herself in this. And she said to me, I can't believe I'm the other woman.
Mhm.
And she was a psychologist, lived across the country from me. So I had her shit together on many different levels, but at the same time was willing to step into this. And we ended it before it was known.
Mhm.
And just said, we can't do this.
But I kinda-
last couple of months. So
Why you didn't say anything to begin with? And like I said, and we've all been there.
yeah.
Because nothing can go from nothing, not that big a deal, to nuclear quick.
Sure can.
Like I said, JP was talking about, we remember the day we got out, and some of the little things that we thought of, oh, that's not that big a deal. The right person with enough strikes and enough, oh shit, I can't even think right now. Rockers and stripes, so their shoulder or now their chest could come by and see something that you think is not that big a deal, and next thing you know, there's a whole shitstorm that you're dealing with. And but like I said, most of the time it's easier to tell somebody an ugly lie than a pretty truth.
Mhm.
I think for
I
women,
think one of the big things, though, in all of that, and I have a number of varying different views on it, but I think, in speaking to things like that, I think a huge part of it is what is the established dynamic in that relationship between the two people. And that is such a critical thing that does not excuse the behavior or make the negative behavior right. But if you are in a relationship where the other person, through their own idiosyncrasies, their own attitude towards things, how they approach life and how they approach people in general, has created an environment where you cannot have that conversation,
Mhm.
then all it's going to do is perpetuate the cover your own ass kind of stuff. And in a way, it will facilitate
Oh, that's another
the
big word.
sliding into that behavior, because you can't talk to that person. You can't have a conversation, without it, turning into some verbally violent
Boom.
explosion.
Was that a kaboom there, Keith?
Yeah, so if you can't even enter into an adult conversation on a level playing field and with a level head, and understand and know that you are going to get the similar kind of behavior and approach from the person across the table, like, I hate to say it, but every last one of us is a coward. We will become a coward at some point, especially depending on how valuable that relationship and that situation is to you. And I know it seems counterproductive, it seems counterintuitive, but if you don't have that rapport, good Lord, I have spent plenty of time in relationships where I can't talk to the person about problems. Why? Because it goes thermonuclear very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a terrible way to exist.
It's
Yeah,
got
it
to
is.
be
If you don't plan
foundation.
defense before you even start.
It's
You
the
know,
foundation. And Keith, you've always been very honest when you come on Wicked Women. You're always like, you come out and say it. And it's like, I love your honesty. And it's not easy to admit to someone that you've lied to them, because from the moment you open your mouth and say to them, I lied, they are never going to look at you in the same way again. The trust is broken, and it will take time. Did you feel when you did it that you were like, oh my God, this is gonna, did you even think for a second, like what Scotty was like, just for that minute, did you ever doubt coming forward and saying it?
No, I don't think my brain went there. I'm a blurter. I'm like, okay, I'm just coming clean. And what that builds for us, to quote a line from a piece of fiction from many years ago, we all have our self-made purgatories that we live in. And I could come up with all kinds of reasons why I was going to justify why I did what I did.
Yeah.
And then I could come up with all kinds of reasons as to why, because it took 9 or 10 years for that to leave our current vocabulary in one form or another. And it rarely comes up now at all. And now when it does, it's not like it used to be. It was when she would bring it up, it would be damning.
Because you never forget it. I mean, that's the thing.
No. And so what I did to her was I created an environment in this relationship of no trust. Now, I don't think she ever really thought I would go out and do something. But there was always that element of, because I traveled, because I did the paranormal stuff, and I was with the ghost hunters, and I did all those shows and all. This was the time period when I was working with the ghost hunters, and so it's that. And I was traveling all the time, almost every weekend for half the year, and she would ask a lot of questions, but there was a point of time. If I can flip this around a little bit, a lot of stray thoughts on this in my mind. As time went on, I remember at some point saying to her, that was 5 years ago. That was 6 years ago. That was 9 years ago. That was 10 years ago. That was 11 years ago. That was 12 years ago.
You have to move on. And just to interrupt there, Keith, come back to you, and Ken, I'll be coming to you in a second. Like, Keith, did you have that moment where you thought about not doing it, not lying, not telling the truth?
Yeah.
What stopped you from not?
Fear of the repercussions. Fear of what the other person would do, fear of being left alone again. So fear would be my answer.
Ken, welcome. You're finally on. You're finally on. And it's the Brady Bunch.
I'm here.
How are you? Are you okay?
I'm doing great. Bad ability. Doing good.
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 What's your
phrase
take on the show tonight? It's and I want to come back to the girls in a minute, because there's a couple of things I wanted to ask them. But what is your take on what we're talking about tonight, Ken?
Oh, well, one thing about a lying, you got to remember always what you said, because you catch do yourself with a lie, you got to make sure you get it right. because it'll fall back on you. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was a young lad, knee high to a grasshopper, I used to go ball hopping all the time. Well, I remember one night, me and my best friend at the time, my partner Chili, were over at Hula Hands, and this girl, it was about 1:30 at night. This girl come up to me. She was, I ain't gonna lie, but she had no damn teeth. She had space teeth, out of space teeth, and she was hitting on me. Well, I went and told Chili. I said, "Man, you got to help me out, brother. You got to play along with me." Well, he knew what to do. And I told her I was so gay. When I walked, sugar was falling out my pants leg. And I used to take a little bit of sugar and rip a packet and put it in my sleeve. And I said, "Look here, see what I mean? I'll be walking, damn sugar be falling out my damn sleeve. Yeah. You got to do what you got to do. I mean, I should have done that, but I did. I told her I was a happy for.
Did you feel bad for doing it or not?
Oh, we know. KB.
No, at the time, no,
Okay.
no, hell no.
Can't be a spray, or
No.
what is it? Can't be afeared? Ain't that what it is? KB
No,
can't
I
be
wasn't
afeared.
afraid. I was afraid of
Can't be
her. She put the fear in me. I mean, yeah.
So you're saying you lie for self-preservation?
To save myself. Yeah, that's what I sure did.
Hey,
The
So-
same fate.
Ladies,
I mean-
coming back to this, one of the most painful lies a man can do is infidelity. And Scotty's very brave because it takes a lot of guts to actually say, and as ladies, we can either be lied to or we can be the liar, but we're talking about from a
I
guy
think
point.
more because women are better at lying than men are.
Well, you say that, but that's not necessarily true.
Not always.
Not necessarily true. I think women have the reputation to be more sneaky, but it's not. But it's like all three of us ladies, we've all been cheated on. We've all had infidelity done to us, and you're imagining it. There's nothing happening. It's not what you think it is. We're just friends. You can check my phone if you like. I'm not really talking to them. The whole reason this podcast came around was because somebody is in a situation where the other person denies that they are talking to other women, and they're not being suggestive and sexual with the other women when they're actually being sexual with them. And it comes to a point when you're like, if you can say that to me, if you can lie, and say it to me, you can lie to all the other ladies. Val, what was your and Kay, what was your biggest hurt when it came to the lies with infidelity? What did it make you feel like?
Well, I mean, it kind of makes you feel like they think you're stupid because, I mean, when you know the truth and they just continue to lie about it, makes you think that, not that I'm stupid, but he thinks that I am.
Yeah. When they assume you're stupid.
Well,
assumption.
whenever you lie to somebody, I can lie on my taxes, and I'm pretty confident that the IRS isn't going to figure that out.
Who don't lie on taxes?
No, I don't.
For a while.
Just in case they're listening, I don't really lie on my taxes. I don't claim everything. Hypothetically, yeah. So I think there's that element of maybe not thinking you're stupid, maybe thinking. I would never have relegated Rainey to the level of being stupid or dumb. I just thought I was smarter than she was. I was in that instance smarter than she was by hiding my tracks and not saying anything. So I think lying tends to be probably one of the most narcissistic things we do because we elevate ourselves to this high
you think you can get away with it.
plateau of saying I can say anything and get away with it. I can cover that up. So we're not so much thinking they're dumb, the other person's dumb, as we're thinking I'm smart enough and I'm talented enough and good enough to pull this off.
I think as women, we definitely have a sixth sense, which we are known to have a stronger sixth sense than a man does. And I think we tap into that We also listen to the tone of voice, your body language. We're giving all the tips out here. The tone of voice, your body language, your eye movement. And some men cannot lie to save their life. Kate, for you, when you found out you were being cheated on, and did they lie to you about it?
Oh yeah, definitely. But it just became about complete narcissism. Like, he was a narcissistic monster and would stop at nothing. And I did feel worthless and I felt stupid, but at the same time I realized this is an addiction for him. This is a game of cat and mouse, and you want to have your cake and eat it too all the time. And it just got to a point that I felt sad for him in the end. I was like, you're struggling that much in life that you ended up with nothing out of it. Like, he didn't end up with either one of us. So I don't know.
Well, it makes you feel at first. Now, don't get me wrong. We know way more than they think.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was the greatest gift at the end, because I was like, wow, it made me get my shit together.
But honestly, when they do something with someone else that you want, but they don't do it with you, that's one of the biggest smacks in the face.
Yeah.
And the damage, as I said, because like for me to find out, I mean, obviously Scotty would have been aware of this when I was married, you know, to find out that my ex-husband was messaging other women and telling them, oh, I'm separated, I'm getting a divorce, we just got married. You know, there's, you know, and also he lied sexually, as in the fact that would promise that sex would happen, promise that this was going to happen. It never did. So you're in that limbo of like, does he want me? Does he really want me? Is you know, and I think that had he come clean and said, actually, this is just who I am, but it made me feel it was about me, that I was, as you guys have said, I'm not desirable, I'm not wanted, I'm worthless, and
it makes you feel that way
again and lied to, because when I saw him being sexually vocal on messages with other women and thinking, but I'm your wife, it was like the Elvis and Priscilla, you know, like Elvis couldn't be sexual with Priscilla because, you know, he just couldn't. So, but he had all these other women. Jason, I'm going to bring you in here because you're sitting there all quiet, and I'm just going to bring you in.
He's dangerous when he's quiet.
Have you been
like small children
in an infidelity point? And from a man's point of view, let's ask you, have you been cheated on and have you been lied to?
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel?
Well, I think it makes like anybody feel devastated. I mean, unless you are, you know, just one of those emotionally void people, you know, that like don't care. And of course you feel defeated. You feel worth less. You know, you start to question everything that's been going on in the relationship, everything that was said. That's one of those things, and I hate to do this because I know you're like, this was a question that was asked to us. I think one of the big things with things like that is that whoever asked that question, let's not put it in terms of gender. Let's put it in terms of being human, because we are all incredibly flawed, and it is something that belongs neither to men nor to women. And when you start looking at things more from a perspective of just a person rather than men or women, there's a lot of arguments that get knocked down, because then you start realizing that, oh shit, we all do this.
But the reason it came out, obviously this is Wicked Women and it's by women for women. We bring you guys on to give a point of view. Women are damaged, and so we go on to have like you guys are as well. And it's interesting to listen to all your points of view, to why you all lied, what made you do it? And also from a damage point of view, like not all of you lied because you were unfaithful or because you were trying to get your end away or whatever the words was. Some of it comes from the fact that you're scared, that you're frightened,
Oh, yeah.
you're going to lose something, that it's a coping mechanism. And I think for me, you know, I discovered after 8 months of marriage, after 100 different web pages and sites, that I actually had married into a complete nightmare. And it's like, why did we sometimes not want to see that we're being lied to, especially when they become so good at it? We actually keep, you know, bring you in here. Like, why is it we keep going back knowing we're being lied to?
I got one.
Safety. There's safety. It is.
Yeah.
It is safer to go back to the negative that you know than it is to move forward into the unknown.
Changes.
And which you have no idea of what's going on. And I apologize for being outside and what I'm about to do.
Yes.
Don't judge me.
Oh, I thought he was going to pee, but okay. No, but
Come on.
I can't believe you would smoke.
I honestly didn't. So
I think you need to put that down. You know, this part of the Wicked Women team.
I do what I want.
That's all right, because I can just, you know, don't worry. We'll just do this for now.
and just so you all know, where'd he go? I just quit smoking 90 days ago. So, so there you go. So now I can be nuts about it.
When I stepped out and was looking to replace the one that was really drunk and nasty all the time, I never lied to her, because men who lie value the woman that they still have, and they don't want to lose what they have, but they want to have the cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. Me, I didn't care if I lost it. So when she said, "Hey, are you with this person?" I said, "Fuck yeah, I am." You gonna get your shit and leave? But you know, you know, the men who lie about an extramarital affair or something like that still wants to hang on to what they have. You know, like I said, it's the old "I want my cake and eat it too" type scenario.
See, let me ask you something though about the cake and eat it too, because that denotes to me a personality trait that would say, I'm very selfish. I'm self-centered. I want my cake, which is my wife, and I want to eat it too, which is the other woman, or whatever way you want to arrange that in your head and parcel it out. But it almost seems like that is sometimes much more of a negative about the man than the reasons that he might have done what he did. Mm-hmm. It might not have been, I want to save my wife and I want to go have fun out here. There is a thing, when I was in ministry years and years ago, we had a thing that we would tell men. I led some small groups of men, small men's groups, guys that were, believe it or not, and I always wait for the lightning bolt when I say this, I led a group of men that were in troubled relationships. And I used to tell these guys, I'd say, the thing that we have to do is guard our hearts. Mm-hmm. And men as well as women. I said, if you don't guard your heart, that harmless glance out there, that exchange that's innocent, that innocent brush of a relationship with somebody in the office or social gathering or whatever, can turn into disaster down the road if you don't guard your heart and guard your mind and all of that, which is so frowned upon nowadays to be able to talk that way. Mm-hmm. And that's what I didn't do, because I didn't set out to find somebody, because I was like, you know, if I were to be crass, I could say crass vernacular. I got the permanent peace at home, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to go get what I want elsewhere. That's not
but that
what
goes
I
back to some of us are old enough to remember, you know, that was portrayed in a lot of the TV and stuff that we grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, the wife stayed at home, the husband went to work in the office, played around with the secretary, you know, the coffee girl, whatever.
Hey,
and the
sweetie,
wife
go get me a cup of coffee.
You know, and a smack on the butt, and you send her off, you know, and and the wife was supposed to be made up at home.
Yep.
You had
Wearing
know
the pearl necklace and the apron. And
that's it. And they
boss
and,
is coming home for dinner tonight.
Vacuuming in high heels.
Yep.
Betty
Lord
Crocker
Cleveland.
come out with the whole thing, how to be ready for your man when he came home, and to stay married. These women never questioned the fact, so the men didn't have to lie about it. She was happy to have a provider to take care of her and her kids, and what he did off the clock of being at home was never discussed. And I remember a lot growing up. I seen a lot of the guys who do that, and if you seen them out with the secretary at a lunch date, I remember somebody told me, I said, "Oh, but he's married." They said, "Michael, keep your mouth shut. You don't know what you're talking about. His wife happy, if he's happy, don't bring it up." Does anyone think?
I think there's an element to that, Steph. There's some of that. There's always everybody, and this is what Keith was it Keith that was saying, or was it Jason, that we're all human? It's not always a male and female thing, but I think sometimes we look to. I'm going to hail to a movie I saw that came out in the 1980s, when all of you were mere babes, and
you're older.
a movie About Last Night. If any of you ever saw it, Rob Lowe,
Love that movie.
Demi Moore, I love that movie, and Jim Belushi. And there was a thing where they were talking at the end where there's this good possibility, there's this reconciliation coming at the very end, and he says, I think or either he or she said this, and I can't remember. He said, I think it was her. She said, I think it was good. We thought when we entered this, it was going to be different than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they're referring to the times where they're a couple now, so they got to stay home on Friday and Saturday night rather than go out with their friends anymore. And their friends looked at them, oh, you're a couple now. And everybody else was single. So what Steph just brought up is what I'm referring to, is there that greener pasture thing to say, when you're not married, it's like, man, I wish that I had somebody that was that permanent person that loved me, cared about me, that I can love and care about back. And that we're home and we're doing our thing. We're going to have kids. We're going to build a house. We're going to have a yard with a picket fence, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then when you have those things, it's like, what happened to my wild sowing my oats days? Oh, I wish I had those days where I could go out and carefree and not have to worry about having a permanent commitment.
Looks like Ken's out there doing it now. Look at her.
What was that, Keith?
I know.
Oh.
No.
The rubbish on here tonight. We're all coming.
Yeah, I was talking about KB's hair. I said KB's not ready to sew his ball. I see
your hair.
No,
he's all stroked up her.
But Val, I wanted to bring up some of the common. Michael brought up some of these tonight, and I want to bring up some of the things that the guys lie about. One is their dating history and sexual experiences, and that's something that is, Michael brought up earlier on about the fact that men lie about how many weeks it is or how long, because you've all had those guys going, babe, I'll keep you up all night. You won't. But that seems to be like they don't want to tell you how many women they've been with or how many women they've not been with.
Okay.
I never understood why
going the signal.
Why men lie about something that you're going to find out about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not going to hide it. I thought Kay was pulling out a ruler. I was going to say, holy shit.
I mean, but I mean, if you tell me you're 6'9" and you show up at my door and you're like 4'11", you're going to have to explain why tell that to begin with.
He got wet and was in the dryer, so he shrank.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll never have to worry about
it's
that.
Like wool for cotton.
I would need stilts to be that tall.
You get my point. It was a little exaggerated, but you get my point.
Sure.
But
I mean, when you're, just it goes the same along with women. If you've got on, some padded Who hugs and you get home with them and they come off with your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
You mean like Animal House?
Rarely
Yeah.
is there a guy that will go, "Oh, those aren't as big as I thought they were."
Well,
But
hey,
guys
I'll
don't
tell
do
you what.
that. We like
but,
food.
I mean, you know,
They
you
are,
get my
so-
example.
Yeah,
You know,
That
we are
reminds
going
me.
to find out, and it's not going to be like, oh, well, you know, 20 years from now, you might find it out and it won't matter then.
No,
It's
when-
not that kind of thing. It's you go find out pretty quick.
when you hit her up on her DMs and say, "Hey, I'm a porn star," and you show up and you're a micro man, you know, it's like, "Oh, I'll give you 8 inches to make it hurt." All you got to do is screw them 8 times and punch them in the ear.
Hey,
Something that's
you
it's,
do what
you know,
you got to do, brother.
but you
do
know,
what you got to do
even when you
then.
come out line, you know, she's talking about the whole padded bra thing. You know, you take them off and they go from a big C to a small A, or like the guys, you know, that they put and I didn't even know they made these, but they can take a guy who is 5'9" and turn him into like 6 foot with these big ass heel things they put in their cowboy boots.
Yeah.
It's true.
See, the
I'm
thing
coming
about
for you.
doing that,
We'll make you 6
that's
foot.
all ostentatious. It's all for show.
True.
That's when you're out on the floor and you're showing off. That's not for going home.
Exactly. So
so
why
if you're
why
gonna
would
do
you why
that-
would men tell the women that or
Yeah.
pretend to be what they're not, knowing that if you get them home, she gonna find out pretty quick you ain't telling the truth.
Well. Maybe they're hoping that when you lay down, they're the same size. So maybe
Yeah. When you land on your back, everybody's
There is
8 to 9
Yeah,
inches.
Or-
I mean, maybe that's
or
what they're
there's
thinking.
not
It
a-
could be that.
I'll be honest and say that's never a thing I lied about with any women when it got to that point in conversation. I never lied about my profession. I never lied about, I used to tell women, you know, we'd meet in bars and stuff and we'd be out with my buddies. So what do you do for a living? I go, well, I'm a starving artist. And they're like, oh,
Oh,
you know,
hey, it's
and
simply, okay, that works. Not a lie, but you know, that's simply
you
I'll
know,
pick-
what's the point of making up or fabricating any kind of element about yourself? Why try to look taller if this is somebody you hope you can take your shoes off in front of?
Exactly.
Scotty,
That was
I'll
my
tell you what.
question.
I used to, people ask me what I did when I went to bars. I told them I was a trash man.
A what, man?
A
Trash
trash man.
Oh,
Yeah,
trash.
I dealt with trash every day.
Well,
Yes, I did.
there was once we were having fun and it was pretty tongue in cheek. I told somebody I was the line supervisor at a urinal cake factory.
yeah.
So I said, I'm in charge of the peppermint line. And I said, I've come all the way up over the last few years, worked my way into management of the urinal cake factory. And those of you who don't know what urinal cakes are, those
I
little
think we
things,
all know what they are.
odor things.
I'm pretty certain we all know what those are.
Yes, yes.
To feel needed, you know, or
The
need-
StreamYard, you're all coming and going.
call it, you know, if a man knows a woman is really, really nurturing, he can play
Can you-
up this poor, pitiful thing, or I'm this, or I'm that.
Sure.
You know, for
Wendy, you're cutting in and out, babe.
but I gotta, and you know, we was all talking about the lies men tell, either from looking taller or inflating their income or lying about their manhood friend or whatever, or the car they drive. Do you think that it can also be true that women lie when they put on makeup or whatever? Is that a lie or is that an enhancement that they do? Because I'm not saying any of the ladies
I
here,
wouldn't put that in the same
I
category.
well,
personally.
2 out of the 3 without makeup, and y'all are still gorgeous, but you know, with that, and that's one of the things that I don't like to see when men dress up like women, and it's almost like they're putting on a woman persona as a costume, and it really aggravates me to see that.
Well,
You know, ladies,
Scotty
I
said,
think
"Thank
there's a
you, Mike."
line there. What's that?
I said, Scotty Mike said, "Thank you." I mean, you made me smile when you talk about the woman putting makeup on. They all look good. I could tell that
I don't have
Scotty
any
would have said,
problem
"Thank
with
you."
that. But I think there's a line that it's a personal preference thing. There's a line, and it's not me wearing it, so
No.
it's not my business. So if I don't like somebody that's over made up, don't approach her. That was the way I always was. It's you know, I
So-
grew up. I came of age as a man in the era of mall hair.
oh Lord,
You know,
Mullet.
women had mall hair, and we parted it down the sides, had the little wings that came, you know, and the little half mullet. You know,
That was
that's the way
That was
we-
so fly, Scotty.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was
Hey,
so
I had-
fly.
You know, I have a personal
So,
preference there. I don't care about makeup. I care if somebody is.
Can
If
you
it appears to me that somebody is doing it,
can you hear me?
The
Is this,
ostentatious
you guys hear
spending.
me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
I can
that we
hear you.
talking over somebody.
5 by 5.
My
yeah,
bad.
5 by 5. Yeah.
Sorry.
Send it.
So anyway, yeah.
Because it's coming and going. So I'm sorry because you're all jumping. You're all jumping differently. But what I wanted to
Uh-oh.
Just
froze.
Jason comes up with a good point. The fact everybody, I know
came
it
up with a
keeps
good
coming
point.
and going. StreamYard is
Yeah.
so bad tonight.
You want to restart your stuff and we'll carry on
Jason
for a
came
second.
up with a good point before I put him out. Oh,
I don't know if she restarts it, probably kick us all off.
can you hear me now? Is that it? Am I back now?
Yes.
Am
Yes.
I back?
The internet,
You know,
Jason did not
and
come up
this
Okay.
program
Jason,
will
come on.
cycle around. You'll get moments in the show where it does that, and then it goes back to normal. So
with,
Jason got a good point. Yes, before I put him outside in the cold, is literally with the fact that everybody lies, and that's what I said right at the start. Everybody lies, but this is particularly about the damage. I don't think guys, and we're talking about guys tonight. We're not talking about women. We're talking about guys, and we've got you on to give your version of it, but you damage us. Right, you damage us, and then we take that damage and we go on with that. And it's like, for instance, I could date Ken, and Ken could lie to me, and those lies could then go on when I date Keith, and then I'm taking that into Keith, and then I could go on to Michael. Whatever, it stays with you. And I
Don't get
think
excited, guys.
books full.
It's just hypothetical.
I know.
it's all hypothetical. I'm just saying it's hypothetical.
But what Wendy says is, and I've actually told women before, I'd be goddamn if I pay for somebody else's sins that I did not do. And a lot of times women departmentalize all men are shit, all men are going to lie, and you're guilty by association for having a penis.
right.
Well, but when you've been hurt by several, you finally get to the point where you don't want to try again because you just you think it's going to happen the same way.
So, and this is why I also made that sidebar argument as I was walking outside before Wendy so unceremoniously kicked me out of the room. And I'm not sure if that's because I decided to have a cigarette because I needed a break after been working on an annual history report all weekend, or if it was because I said I do what I want. But
No, you don't.
The fact of the matter is that men are just as damaged by the behaviors of women. Men, I think, because naturally we tend to be a bit better at compartmentalization, or maybe we just have a dumb gene and we're like dogs and we'll, keep getting kicked and we'll keep coming back for belly rubs and scritchies. We are just as impacted. I think we just deal with it and compartmentalize it in a different way, just because the wiring diagram is slightly different from model to model.
It's the whole river and puddle scenario.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact of the matter is like, I look, from all the things that I've been through with women, I can tell you right here now, yeah, I've got baggage, but
you don't.
I'm
dislike
also.
women.
I'm also aware of my baggage and I acknowledge my baggage, which allows me to be like, still maintain some of the stupid, hopeless romantic, kind of, outlook that I have managed to cling to. Because I've been through a lot. I've done a lot of things. I'm not a perfect person, and by any means, and I acknowledge that as well. But I think how the trauma is dealt with is very different, and I think that also leads into or goes along with how, like Scotty was talking about, that was 5 years ago, that was 9 years ago, that was 12 years ago, I think guys tend to be more like, okay, so we've had this, right? Like it's the old adage of like two guys have a problem with each other.
at the bar, they take it outside, they beat the shit out of one another in a fist fight, and then they pick each other up off the sidewalk, and they're like, oh, yeah, all right, let's go have a round, right? Like, we have dealt with the issue. Whoever came out on top was the one that was right, and we're past this now, right? Well, we're good. Okay, cool. Now we can move forward. Whereas you get the hanging on to something and not letting it go, because if you don't let go of that, you are just going to make everything miserable, and then things turn into. Then you start getting into the realms of, and I'll go into my last relationship, falling prey to the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You sit there and you think about all the traumas that you've been through. That impacts how you deal with things in the relationship in general. That creates a strain in the relationship. That creates issues, and then there's a divide if it's not dealt with. Or it's only dealt with by one side. And then you have, this thing, well, there's this thing that's bugging me about whatever he did, and I'm just going to hang on to it and like not even factor in that, like, dude, we're all human and we make mistakes, and not let it go. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But it's very hard to let something go when it's been. Yes, it is. But it is.
Look,
when you have had somebody tell you something for long enough, just like they said at the beginning, when you tell yourself a lie long enough, you're going to believe it. So if you have somebody else telling you something for long enough, you're going to start believing it. And
that conditioning does happen.
All right.
Once you eventually get out of that relationship, it takes a long time to stop thinking the way you did when you were in that relationship.
I agree with that. And you and I have talked about this before too, Val. And I've talked about this on my show. Wendy and I have talked about this. And all of you know this, I have a bunch of kids. And most of them grew up watching Disney cartoons. So I'm going to make a Lion King reference because I once had the whole movie memorized because I heard it every day, all day long.
I feel you.
But you remember when, if you watched the movie, where Rafiki, the old baboon, tells Simba he's got to go back. He's telling him. And he says, I can't go back. The past hurts. And he hits him over the head with his walking stick. And Simba says, hey, what did you do that for? He says, that hurt. He says, yes, but it's in the past now. Mm-hmm. He says, yes, the past can hurt. He says, but the big question is, what are you going to do now? He asks him. And what do you do with the now, here in the now, and where you go? And yes, we are our own worst enemies. We are the ones that stop forward progression. We're the ones that get stuck in the past.
I also think, though, to bring Kane in, she'll understand this. When you have been lied to many, many times and you've given that person another go, another chance, another go, and then you try to move on from it, you do try to move on from that lie. And then what will happen is something will happen, something will be said, or there'll be behavior or something like that. And it comes up, oh my God, there it is again. Or in my case is that I went for, it was constant lies throughout my marriage. And then it went quiet for a while where I just started to feel calm. Maybe I can relax a bit. Maybe things are going to change. Maybe they've turned the corner. Maybe they're not going to lie. Because obviously he had an addiction, which is very different. When you've got someone who's got an addiction, their lies are very, very different. And then when they start coming back, Kay, obviously you can appreciate what I'm saying here, and they start to lie again. The second it comes around again with the addiction, especially when it comes to the lies, with a partner or whatever, you're like, I can't believe I'm here again. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, and yes, and I also really agree with what Scotty and JP are saying, because I got to a point that I was like, I got to heal this aspect of myself that has these innate beliefs that I'm not worthy, I'm not loving, I have something wrong with me, I'm not deserving of having a healthy relationship. Because guess what? If I don't heal that, I'm going to keep this belief within me, And not only am I going to call in another relationship that's this exact same thing, that's going to mirror to me the exact same flaw that I see within myself, but I'm also going to punish a man that may be a really incredible human because some trigger might come up and I might think, oh, here we go again, when actually it's like, no, it might not be going down that road. I'm just replaying this old trauma in my head because I really think that's a flaw that happens within so many of us women is we don't heal before we go into the next relationship, and we carry that baggage and we carry that baggage, and we just keep recapitulating it over and over and over again to the point that it's like the next healthy chance doesn't even have a chance because you're constantly looking for the red flags and holding on to the things that you may be able to punish them over. And yeah, I struggled with that for over a freaking decade. So it's like, yes, I completely agree with what you're saying, Wendy, that you get to that place that it's like, I can't trust a man and they've done this to me over and over again. But as women, we can step in our power. We can be our advocates for ourselves and heal our hearts and trust that we are strong enough to have whole, healed, healthy relationships with people that are innately good and aren't going to do that, because you can't keep punishing the next person for how Scotty and JP are saying they did years ago. They're not them, you know?
There was, it brings to mind something.
And that's a decision.
And I don't want to get too, we've talked about this stuff. I've talked about this on my show before, but it's this syndrome, if you want to call it that. When I was a little boy, I'm talking a little boy, 5, 6 years old, abused. And I remember in my 30s, I thought I was a pretty well-rounded guy, you know, and I was having marital problems with my first wife, and I went to counseling and therapy for myself, and it was mostly it was started as marital therapy. And she said, you should come in on your own. I came in, and she said to me, she said, she said, sorry, I'm putting it this way. She said, you're like a textbook example of somebody who has been abused, and they continually throughout the rest of their lives, unless they get it in check, recognize it, get it in check, heal it, you keep putting yourself in those situations where, and she said, the reason, I said, why would I do that? And she was talking about romantic relationships. She was talking about business relationships, friendships, things like that. She said, you continually put yourself in these, and you put yourself deliberately into what you know ahead of time is not a good situation or is a bad situation, or you've seen and ignored the red flags because what you're doing psychologically that you don't realize, you're getting into those so you can heal the relationship that was broken way back then that is ingrained in you.
Right. And
she says, until you realize that, you'll keep doing that. And that was like a light got turned on when she said that. And so I think there are a lot of women that do this. There are a lot of men that create women that do this. I think we do it to each other. I think there's a lot of men that do that. There are broken relationships out there. There are broken, you know, what was it? It was this same counselor. She had a little cartoon from the newspaper, probably a psychological newsletter or something. And it was cut out and it was on her bulletin board in her lobby. And it showed an auditorium. It was empty, all these seats in an auditorium, and 2 people in this cartoon. One was sitting down here and the other one was over there, and had a big banner across the top. The annual celebration of people who came from non-dysfunctional homes. And it's 2 people. And I think that's pretty much the way it is. Everybody's got, to one level or another, some kind of brokenness that they're dealing with.
I think that's very true. And I brought up a story about my friend who basically came from a traumatic background. His father had berated him for years and put him down, and there was obviously physical abuse as well. And he became, I have to be better than I am. I have to make out I'm better than I am. I have to, you know, big myself up, you know. And he would get to a point where he would literally dress up and say that he worked somewhere as a porter in a hospital or somewhere else, and you knew damn well he was lying. You knew he was, and you'd be like, why are you doing this?
What was the movie where the girl came in and she had moved to New York City? It's something about Alabama, Sweet Home Alabama, and she actually changed her last name to Carmichael. Yeah. That was the big plantation.
Oh.
And Wendy's dog is over here trying to play with my leg. He's chewing on me.
And literally years later, he ended up, without going into too much detail, he ended up being in a situation where he lied about his life. He lied about his life, and the other person had no idea that there was a family or anyone else. And it's like, when does the lying stop? When do you actually realize that you are toxic, and that you are? When do you know when to stop? Because he couldn't stop, and even to this day, he has problems, and it's caused him to have health issues and everything else. You know, Kay, when does someone realize that, you know? And Keith, I'm going to bring in, because Keith's been so patient sitting there. Let's hold. When does it stop?
I think it's like when you actually gain a self-awareness of how much damage you're doing in your own life, and who you are hurting, and what you've contributed to the pain in others' lives, and also what you've contributed to your own pain. And I think sometimes people will go through their whole time here on Earth School and not learn any of these lessons, and they'll just continually, as Scotty was saying, recapitulating the same pain and the same trauma over and over and over again into the next relationship and the next relationship, never learning. Whereas other people, their whole lives are going to get blown up. As you know, Wendy, you're a reader, the tarot card comes, the tower falls, and the whole life restarts again. And that's the best possible thing that can happen when their life fucking explodes. And then they have nothing else to do but start from the ground up again. I think that's really when the lies stop, when they hit rock and go,
Perfect.
I don't have anything left but to rebuild here.
Let's bring Keith in, because he's been so patient. Go ahead, Keith.
When I realized it, life smacked me in the face. I got the tower moment. A lot of trauma. And I was sitting here trying to figure out why I keep going through the same cycles. A few of you have talked about cycles.
The cycles.
And I finally came up with an answer one morning when I was looking in my bathroom mirror. What is the common denominator in all the cycles? Me.
You.
That's when I started to really analyze my life, what I had done, who I had done it to, why I did it. I picked it apart piece by piece. I went back to my childhood, and I've done this several times. And I was the issue, at least some of the times. A point I was going to make a little while ago, I'll make this quick. But one of the reasons why I would lie in a relationship, one of them, I was truthful from the beginning. I was honest, but they would not believe me because of what their past partners had done. They were bleeding on someone that did not cut them. And finally, it got to the point where I just go along with it just to avoid the drama and the screaming. And eventually I had to get out of it. But it's painful, you know. I was conditioned to lie when I was trying to be honest, and that, I think that hurt a lot.
Wow, that's kind of major. Like, you were conditioned to lie.
Yeah. And you know, my last relationship, I found out afterwards that that whole relationship was based on lies she told from the beginning, and I had no idea until it was well too late. But it's there's so many different scenarios, and Kay hit the nail on the head with her statements. Thank you for saying that.
She tends to do that on a regular basis when she comes on, and that's what I love about her. Kay, what do you think is the worst lie that you've ever been told?
Oh God.
Trying to figure it out.
Lord. But while she's thinking about that, you know, Keith hit the nail on the head. I was thinking, you know, you keep going back, and the common denominator between all these relationships, and Valerie said, but all of these men have lied to me. But it's almost like she has picked the same kind of man over and over and over again. So therefore she is getting a small cut of the men out there in the populace, so, and the common denominator goes back to from friendships to remote romantic relationships to emotional affairs or whatever to marriage. Everybody, from friendship to any kind of situationship, anything you want to put ship on the end of, you are the common denominator in that chain of events. So if you keep finding men who lie to you, it's almost like you're picking the shit bags out of the bottom of the barrel. So, but all men,
we do.
Yeah, I think it comes down to we all play a role. We all play a role. We all have accountability in what the dynamic of the relationship is. And we also have the choice to stay over and over again. I mean, I stayed for a decade too long when I could have left. That was my choice. It was my choice to let him continuously hurt me.
And don't you find yourself looking back at that and go, that was 10 years.
It was 10 years. And at the same time, when people ask me what my greatest gifts have been in life, he was one of them, because I had the most amount of spiritual, emotional, mental growth in that decade. So did it suck? Yes. I got a child out of the deal who's freaking incredible, but also, and we're friends today. We're great friends. We're great co-parents, but it sucked to endure at the time. But it's like, that was my greatest lesson in Earth School, is that 10 years. And I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't redo any second of it.
But saying that, you said you got a child out of the deal. So he was I'm trying to, how to say this nicely. He was a contributing factor to you becoming with child.
Exactly.
But do you think it would have been a different, because they could have been another contributing factor that would probably be more than willing to give you the same said child?
Mm-hmm.
You had to live that for 10 years. And do you think some of the hurt opened you up, like you said, spiritually, and enlightened you some? Because, like I said, I got 3 wonderful kids. And I was thinking, somebody said, do you think your kids are going to be the person you are? Well, they talking about my 2 sons. And my daughter's a lesbian, so she tells me, tell everybody, she's my favorite son. No, I said, you'll never be the person your father is. And, I sat down, and once you start into the counseling thing, and y'all two can contest this, people come to you and ask you questions. And next thing you know, you go into counselor mode. You go into damage control. How can I elevate this person from where they're at to a better place in life? And that happened to me the other day. Like we said earlier, I have been sick going on 60 days now. Saw a lot of me. And because when you're like a wounded animal, when you hurt, you draw into your den. But I went out to get propane because it's cold and wet. And when I get cold and wet, I hurt more. And I could tell this guy was just basically having to beat the shit with life choices. And Wendy has a good saying, you wear your life on your face. And I have been very good at reading people. And JP can probably contest to this. In the line of work that we came from, we made snapshot judgments. Well, even KB being law enforcement. You make a very quick assessment of the situation and what you're going to do with it. And the more I go into counseling, the more I look at people. I've never looked down on nobody. And I asked him, I said, what's going on? He said, well, I was with this person. I was with this person. To the time he left the state he lived in, come back and took a shit job, basically loading, feed and propane on trucks. I told him the same thing like Keith said. I said, you look back at all these relationships, you are the common denominator. And he looked at me like I pulled the wool back, that everybody had lied to him. What do you call it? Red pill, blue pill type shit. It's almost like I give him the pill that opened him up to the reality is, you need to own your own shit. And I've always been pretty good at owning my own shit. Did I own it as a kid? Get the shit beat out of me? No. Your mom and dad come in, hey, did you eat all the peanut butter cookies? You look straight to the face. No, I didn't, because you didn't want shit beat out of it. And it comes into a defense mechanism. But a lot of people keep on going back to the same narcissistic assholes. And they say, all these men are the same. And I like to tell them, no disrespect to any of the ladies, and Valerie's probably going to get me. She's close enough to drive and beat my ass. And I can't fight that well right now because I'm bound in the back. But, but they keep picking all these men who lie to them. So therefore, in their reality, from the pie chart, they keep picking all these shitbag men, and they're, even something might come out of a turd sandwich. You might, not be hungry no more for an hour. you know, like Kay said, I got a wonderful child, and she won't trade for nothing.
I'll be back.
And so, you know, even out of a bad situation, you know, sometimes you got to turn chicken shit into chicken salad.
Mhm.
A lawyer told me that. She said, your offense is so bad, we won't try to turn chicken shit into.
I like that.
And yeah.
This is a good point that Steph's come up. How do we know that men are lying? Let's look at some of the
Well,
the
my
ways
mom said that their mouth's moving, you know, and that comes
well,
from my mom.
that's very true. But Kay, how did you know he was lying to you?
Oh, because the lies just started to become so pathetic. I was like, oh my God, this is so outlandish. Like, nobody would believe this. It just became more and more pathetic as it went on. But I think I just started to really learn body language, how he was delivering the message. He wouldn't look me directly in the eye when he was talking to me. And then I just started putting the pieces together. I'm like, you know, things on the phone. There were so many different red flags. It just became very.
I would like to interject because this is something that has come up before on one point. Those things like body language, what directions do the eyes move, things like that. So as someone who would be considered, at least in today's parlance, a neurodivergent, all right, because I'm an ADHD child, and I will wear that badge on my sleeve like a badge of honor, and start a fist fight over it. When you have neuroatypicals,
Mhm.
all of that shit goes out the window.
Oh, I know
and
that.
and it can't be, and it's one of those things, and I only say that because I feel the intense need when things like this come up to stick up for those of us who have these issues. You start looking to the left because you're using whatever kind of, you know, side of your brain, or you look to the right because you're using, you know, this side of your brain, the fidgeting, the whatever, like a lot of that stuff, and you see it more and more today because you see more and more instances of this occurring in the population. Try to also use like the empirical data and mesh it with the oh, well, they're putting their hand on their hip this way, or they're looking in this direction when they say something, or they won't look me in the eye when they say something, because that's stuff that there's some people out there seriously just cannot get around. They could be the most honest person in the world, but they're sitting there talking to you, and they will look down into the right or left, or not directly at you. And it's not that they're trying to be dishonest, and they convey a lot of information. Like me, I convey a lot of information, especially when I get nervous about something, just because I'm in a face-to-face kind of not confrontation, but situation with, say, a very senior leader, right? It's not because I'm trying to blow smoke up the guy's butt or anything like that. It is literally because there is this person that is like up at this echelon, and there's a level of like submissiveness, if you will, that okay, I got to do this, and I got to give all this information. I've got to explain this because I need this person to understand it. And when you have a zillion things going through your mind, and you have just teraflops of data, right, that you're trying to convey, and you can't condense it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have been in so many situations in general, not just in relationships, but in relationships too, and in general, where no, you're lying to me because you're over-explaining everything. No, I'm over-explaining everything because that's how my brain is wired.
Mhm.
And I will give you every last shred of data that you need to show that I am not lying to you and that I'm being honest.
Yes.
And it has taken 40 years of fighting that and not overshare.
I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that. And I wasn't talking about left or right looking, because I actually have a son that is on autism spectrum, so I know all about the neurodivergent.
Okay, yeah. Good.
What
Yeah.
I was saying
You're
is
tracking them.
I have known this man since I was 17 years old, and I was saying when he would lie to me, he would not look me in the eye because I could look right into his soul. So that's what I'm not talking about.
Well, yeah, no, it's probably not so much for you, as we all have our own individual experiences, but more the larger audience, and because there are a lot of people that do fall into that. Well, these are the body languages, and
I think that, and that's why I was saying it can be so many things. It's really specific on the person. It's specific on how it delivers. It's what's going on in their head at the time. I honestly can't say there are any telltale ways unless you're like flat out busting them in the process of,
right.
I'm taking your phone right now and you just told me that you didn't just sleep with her and yet now she's just texting you saying, I wish that you were inside of me right now. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it just,
that's a deep subject. How do you get them kind of messages?
To be flat out found out, but there's
Did you just say this is that's a deep subject?
And
Yeah.
And to further that, I think that some men
That's
again
what he
become
said.
so good at it. It's like what are the signs? Because it's just
Yeah.
part of who they are. They talk. They like how Michael was saying. They open their mouths and they lie. So it's like I don't really know.
That's why my mother would say it. My mother said, if you don't know a man's lying, but my mom was always good with all her boys. She'd look you dead in your face. And like I said, I went to evasive and all this stuff. I am trained to lie. I am trained to say, hey, I'm Canadian. I am not part of the United States Armed Forces. I am not here to kill your leader and make you believe it. I'm here to drink Mai Tais and wear Speedos. But on the same hand, a lot of times when you over-explain stuff, and I hear the word mansplaining. And like I said, I'm getting in a lot of trouble for that. But, it's not that you think the person is
I just want, real quick. So mansplaining is man explaining.
Yeah.
We just...
But it also
I hate that mansplaining crap. I hate it when you stop mansplaining me. Good Lord. When somebody tells me that, I want to drag them out back to the wood pile and have a fucking one-on-one wall-to-wall counseling session. And Michael knows what I'm talking about with wall-to-wall counseling.
Make the wall bleed. The first time I heard that, and it was a female.
FM 22-101.
Yeah. We had a female customer, and she was a little small, older black lady, and she looked like a grandma. You think there's never a mean bone in this woman's body, which is very deceptive.
Those are the scary ones. But
I have to bring Ken in here because Ken's a police officer or retired. Ken, would you know when someone was lying to you?
Well, my experience of dealing with people for 30 years in law enforcement, I read a lot into people by talking to them about certain questions I would ask them and keep talking to them. In a period of time, I would come back and ask the same question in another way, and I would get my answers. That's what I was trained to do.
Yeah.
And even though I'll be talking to you and then ask you a question, come back 20 minutes later, doing an interview, and ask you another question, the same question, but we totally reworded. And I'll get a total different answer.
And you gave him the Myers-Briggs test.
Inconsistencies.
Yes, that's what you do. And like I said, again, a lot of people don't believe it. You watch the hands, the feet, the legs, the posture, and things like that. Which is you're trained to do that.
They're getting protective. You cover your middle or your stomach. You're trying to get protective.
See, I know that because my dad was a copper, and he taught me some things, and then I was a counselor on top. So if I wanted to get something out of someone, I would do exactly what you did. I'd ask them something, and then I'd ask them another way, and then I'd bring it up another way, and you would actually start to get the information out. So when you're saying this or whatever like that, and the thing is, when you're being lied to, your whole gut instinct.
Well, you gotta build that rapport. You gotta let them think they're in charge.
Exactly.
You gotta build a rapport.
I have been interrogated from the one in the corner, and she's very good at getting information.
What? What was that?
He said, "Let them talk." I said, "I've been interrogated by the one up in the corner. She's very good at getting out information." But I'm going to ask KB this. KB, when you go up to a car, most cops will tell you, and I got a lot of, friends that are Leos that I served with, so not only did they was, military police, but now they're civilian police, and, a lot of them come from different backgrounds. And they'll roll up to the car and say, "Hey, do you have any hand grenades, bombs, guns, anything that's going to blow me up or whatever?" and they go so outlandish to gauge your body language. Because if you look at them like, what the fuck, are you retarded?
Yeah.
You know, they know you're probably pretty cool. But if you look at them like, oh, what? You know, because, you know, but they ask you something so outlandish to gauge your reaction on it. And that's
you want to break the ice. You want to give them a little sense of humor, you know. And that's it's part of the job.
Build
You know?
your rapport.
If you go in as an asshole, you will get an asshole answer. You know.
I think they
You
have
use a little humor and make them feel comfortable, relaxed. You usually get what you want.
And Katie, what about the sociopaths out there that it's like their job to lie? Like, how have you really cracked the code on them?
I would use the same type of method by talking to them. I will give them the rope to hang themselves. I will let them talk and talk and talk. And, you know, like I said, you want to build a rapport where they feel comfortable, like they're in charge. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to feel like you're in charge, you know. But no, I will let you hang yourself. It's a lot of ways of doing that. I don't want to give up some of the things, but yes, a lot of ways to make a person hang themselves.
So it's almost like they become overconfident, and then the inconsistency.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You let them think.
And you build a rapport as being that best buddy. They love that. And all of a sudden, you become that best friend, where they can open up to you. They feel comfortable. Give him a cigarette or something that he wants. Yeah, you can build up a fantastic relationship within hours. Yeah, believe me, you can.
That's what I'm saying. You let them think they're the smartest person in the conversation.
Exactly.
Going back
And like I said, a lot of times when people talk, if I'm in a crowd of people, even to this day, I'll still do it. I'll sit back, I observe, I'll watch, and I'll listen. That's part of my nature. You know, I'll sit back, I'll look at the situation around me, I'll listen, let them talk the whole 9 yards. And after everybody started talking, I can tell you a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, that's it. But I can kind of see, you know, where Ken's side has been, because, you know, we've done some of that stuff. But like JP said, a lot of times when you happen to give out information to somebody who is higher on the proverbial food chain than you are, you know, you go in, you knock 3 times on the door. Hey, sir, ma'am, can I come in? And if it's an officer, you're at, so you're sitting there and you're kind of in a compromised position anyway, because you know they're higher on the, you know, on the food scale. And same way with NCOs, when you go in to report, you know, you're a parade rest, your front is all wide open. So, and a lot of times you don't want to be the disappointment to make everybody stay late. I've had people lie to me. I say, well, where's the last place you saw your weapon? Oh, it was here. Well, where the fuck is it now? And
it's leaning against the 113 in the field.
Yeah, somewhere. You know, we actually found one that had been run over by Abram.
You know,
it pushed into the mud, and the whole post was locked down. But nobody wanted to be the one that was known as that fucking guy.
I'm looking at this comment that Steph just put up. She said, but then they say you're just fishing. Now, it makes me think this, and it's changing the thread here just a little bit of where you're at, because I stepped out for a few minutes. But it seems to me that a whole lot of potential heartache could be avoided if any of us just gained that confidence, that air of knowing what is right and what is wrong and what you need and what you don't need, so that we can look at some of these people and go, you know, hey, thanks for the time out, but no, I'm not going to enter into this. And you don't have to be mean about it or nasty, but it would just seem that if we got to that place where, you know, don't you wish you knew now what you knew 30 years ago? And hi, you want to come over and say hi?
It's just checking it out.
Come over and say a quick hi if you want.
But you know,
yeah, and I think it's what's that saying? How does it go? Life isn't complicated, people complicate it. And I completely agree with you. I think that there comes a point that it's like all the times you're being accused of being called drama because you're trying to like get all this information. It's just like, is it even worth it at the end of it? Like, if it's that exhausting, if it's taking from you more than it's giving to you, and you're constantly questioning your sanity over it, like, I just don't even know if it's worth trying to figure out if they're lying or not all the time.
So I'm going to come back to, as I said Did you find out the worst lie you've been told? Okay. Did you work it out?
Bring it back around.
There's many. I don't really want to say some of them. I don't need to relive them.
What was the most outlandish one that you were told?
Oh, the girl that was busting into his condo was some cousin of his that had a bone to pick with him, but it was like the girl he was seeing at the time. I don't know. It was just randomness. It got to a point that I'm like, this is just ridiculous.
The worst I ever got told? You're my soulmate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I had another friend of ours that said to me later, after that week fizzled out with that person. A week long was all it took. That was fine. But we were talking, and he said, "Oh, are you now a member of the Soulmate of the Week club?" Because it was, she didn't mean anything malicious by it. She was just flighty. She had a flighty personality, and she was young, and so on and so on. And so that was probably the word. I can't think of any lies that a woman's told to me that is so atrocious. It's like, nobody ever really did that. I think
what about you, Keith?
Nice people, but
what about you, Keith?
Probably that her ex was abusive and extremely dangerous, and she needed to leave the situation now.
Oh,
which got me to drop my boundaries that I had set. And everything.
Michael, what about you?
I've been drug in that same situation. You've had a female, and where we're from, we are trained to protect the female species. And I've had a woman come to me and say, "Oh, he's beating my ass, or he's this, or whatever." And you want to gear up, and basically show up and say, "Hey, dude, you're going to put your hands on a woman, fight a man." And next thing you know, you got a court case, and she's out blowing your buddy and telling him the same lie she told you to get this poor guy's ass beat. No, JP's like, oh, you've had a stripper. Yeah. Don't look at me like that. I got a story I'll send you about the. I'll go ahead and say it. There was some UK soldiers got caught in a very compromising position with a civilian lady. It's like 35-1. And a Blue Falcon videotaped it. But anyway, so I thought the Americans was just doing weird shit in the barracks. Couldn't find out it's military men everywhere. But I got a question for the ladies, like a two-part thing. I've been sitting there thinking about this. I have read stories and did research on that about the man who had a family in New York, and he had one in California. He had two wives, not together, like our friend Scotty guy. I ain't gonna throw him under the bus or nothing. You can say his name if you want to. Both of his wives live in the same house and know about each other. The one I'm talking about is
my priest friend who has two wives. Yeah. He's legit, by the way. For those of you who don't know who we're talking about.
I'm gonna interject real quick. I apologize. I've actually got to jump off of here. I got another show to do. It's in about 10 minutes.
Keith,
I look
good to see you, brother.
next week. Thank you so much.
nice to see you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Have a good one, Keith. Bye.
Cool.
come to goatee. But anyway, so let me ask you, how would the ladies feel if they found out the lesbian husband, father of their children or pet parent, had a separate family? Like I said, I tease the dog here about. I say, "Come here and give Daddy a hug." If you don't, I'll bring in the backup dog, and that's what Wendy's dog here beside me is. I always tease Mila about bringing in the other dog. How would y'all feel to find out that your significant other had a secondary family? You want to talk about the ultimate lie that a man could tell a woman? Say, and I even heard of one here. One family was in Virginia, down in Martinsville area, and the other one was over in North Carolina. So in the end, he had a Virginia marriage license and a North Carolina marriage license, and I can contest these people do not track marriage licenses that well. So he was going back and forth, and he was telling the one, "Hey, I have to go to work here in this state. I'm paying the bills. I can't answer my phone." Then when he would leave her and go back to Virginia, he would tell her the same lie. "Hey, I'm going to work here. I can't answer my phone." One of them double topper secret espionage type shit. I work for this government entity that
I'm an international spy.
International Men
Man
of
of Mystery.
Mystery.
Yeah. But
I,
and I saw that picture.
That was awful, wouldn't it,
He
Kay,
didn't look
to
like
I
discover
think-
that
I would
everything.
think, wow. I would think, wow, you must be fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
I thought,
exactly
yeah.
what happened with my friend. Is that he had a family, and then he was telling the other people that he didn't have a family. There wasn't a family, and he was obviously off with someone else. And then she discovered that obviously there was a family. I don't understand why people get into something and they just don't. Like, for instance, this is a common one. You somehow, and we've all done it. We've all been there. We find photographs of a woman on the phone, or a guy, a different one on the phone. You find them and you go, "Who's this? Like, why have you got pictures of a woman in a bikini? Who is this woman?" And there's like, and they go, "Oh, it's nothing. She's just a friend." She was just. I'll give you an example. I was dating someone. We were back together after a period apart of being apart. And Scotty will probably remember the story. And I was curling my hair, and their phone was on charge beside me. I looked down, and there was a message saying, "What do you think of these shoes?" And there was this pair of high heel shoes, and I'm thinking, and it had a name I didn't recognize at the top, and I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there curling my hair, and I'm like, you just had a message from some woman about asking you about what do you think of the shoes, and he's like, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just my friend's wife." Why is your friend's wife sending you a picture of their shoes?
I asked her if she could tell me the best kind of shoes that would look good on you.
Why did she send you a picture of their
There's
shoes?
an off-the-top lie.
And he was like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know why she's doing it. I don't know. It's nothing." And I was like, "Yeah, but hang on a minute. Why would someone's wife send you a picture of high heel shoes and ask you if they would look good in it?" It doesn't make sense. And it took ages and ages. And in the end, it came out it wasn't the friend's wife. It was the ex-girlfriend who he'd now put in his phone under another name so that I would know it was the ex-girlfriend. And I'm like,
Oh boy.
okay, why is the ex-girlfriend sending you pictures of her shoes and asking your opinion? I don't know. I have no idea. In the end, big row happens because you're lying. Your lips are moving. You know you are, and it's like they start to unravel the story. You start to unravel the story. So I'm like, and then it comes up with, she's obviously messaging him, and he's obviously saying, "Stop messaging me, right? Stop messaging me." And then she comes on, "Oh, but I thought you weren't together. I thought you weren't together anymore." So I'm now going, so basically it's not your friend's wife. I tell you what, let me message your friend's wife and ask her about the shoes, and maybe we'll get to the bottom of the story. And in the end, they had to come forward. Why do people go on these elaborate things and just go, well, but he put her under a different name. And that's what I mean about trust. When someone does something like that, your trust is broken, because if they can lie to you once about it, they can lie to you again about it. And the next thing you know, you're like, is that really Sarah? Is that really Anne? Is it really her, or am I going round the bend? Because I'm actually starting to feel like I'm going mental here, because you're telling me one thing and then I'm thinking something else. And I think that men, and I mean this in the best will of the way, I've been in those kind of relationships, sadly, like women have done it to guys. They try to make you feel like you're going crazy, that you don't know what you're talking about, that
You're
it's
stupid.
all, it's all stupid, it's all bollocks. And then on top of that, it's like you're going, oh my God, and they get angry with you. And that's another sign of guilt, anger. When someone becomes angry and they go, "What do you want about?" and they turn it on you, that is a sign of guilt. Would you not agree, Kay?
Yeah, the defensiveness, the angry defensiveness, like just freaking out. "You're so dramatic. How can you accuse me of this?" Oh my goodness.
And then when it came to actually throwing the bag down the actual hallway and having a tantrum, I realized I'd actually like hit on the nail on the head. And it was like, and the other thing is also, and I'm going to use this example, and I can't believe I'm going to use this, but what do you do when you're dating someone and you haven't seen them for a while? This is from my dim, distant past. And you go down there, and there's a bereavement in the family, and you go down there and you discover there's a used condom in the bin, and you're like, what's this? Like, what's this? And they're like, nothing. But it is something. But it's nothing. And it's like it was nothing. It was just relief, it was just relief. And you're like, well, hang on a minute.
This is not the evidence you're looking for.
Exactly. And they went through the whole story of.
Did we all just do that basically at the same
We
time?
did.
Is that
We're all
You take-
babies to pop culture, yes.
You can
But
tell
it's
where
like,
our childhood.
you know it's bullshit. You know you're being lied to, but somehow they manage to turn around to you and you go, maybe they are telling me the truth. Maybe really? Maybe it gets to you like that, does it not?
Yeah, it's almost playing a mind fuck with your mind. And JP can probably contest to this. A lot of times men and women are built in with plausible deniability. If I knew I'm going into a spot where I could be compromised, I'm going to have an exit strategy put in, unlike a few of our presidents.
It don't work, Michael. I can tell when you're lying.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
But anyway, no. But like I said, a lot of times, and everybody has a tale. If you interact with somebody long enough, you will know their tales, or if they get uncomfortable around a subject, especially if you're a trained counselor or something. And I was trying to keep up with all the hears, and the one lady here, Queen of Hills or Hades. I need my glasses.
Hades, yeah, Queen of Hades, yeah.
She's talking about stalker ban and stuff like that. And I see them over here having their own conversation. But a lot of times, people come with built-in plausible deniability. And it's like, if and I want to tell the ladies here, if your men are getting a message of shoes or tits and the name says car parts, dog trainer, he probably ain't that goddamn smart. I've known guys who have went to the extent of carrying 2 phones. He said, "Oh, this is my phone and this is my side piece phone," and the side piece phone never would be turned on at home. Then when they said, "Oh, where was you at?" "Oh, I was out of service," or and he only turned it on when we got to whatever.
Yeah.
And if you went towards the side piece phone, even if he wasn't going to tell his wife or out him, never thought I'd say that, but out somebody for being a cheater, which I think they should be. But like I never hid mine. And everybody's like, "Why wouldn't you hide it?" I said, "I didn't care if she left or not." And the only reason they didn't hide it is because they, like I said, they want to go back to, 2 and 2. What is it? 2 in the hand is better than 3 in the bush or whatever. And but that's the reason they hide it.
2 in the hand is better than 1 in the bush.
Quiet, Jason.
Yeah.
I saw your head.
I'm heavily medicated.
I'm like, don't go there. Keep your tongue in.
Yeah, like I said, I'm heavily medicated. You know, Wendy, like 30 minutes before.
Years ago, like, because my dad taught me well, Kate, I remember I was dating a guy and I knew he was having a fling with someone, and he had this this was going back into the late 80s, early 90s, and he had this Snoopy air freshener in the front of his car. And we're good friends, so we've talked about this story a long time, so there's no bad feeling between him and I now. But I remember there was this Snoopy air freshener in the front of the car, and I said, "Where did you get that from?" And he's like, "Oh, I just liked it. I just got it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And anyway, days later, I was cleaning out his car with him, and I found this a note from a woman.
Uh-oh.
And she'd written underneath about hope you like the air freshener.
Oh.
I'm like, all right. So I took the note and I kept it. And I discovered who this girl was. and we ended up like, I don't know, somehow being in the same place that she was there, and she had the same Snoopy air freshener in her car, so it was kind of like a joint thing, I think. And I remember thinking, right, okay. So one day I decided to check this out, that there was nothing going on between them, because he'd said there's nothing going on, we're just friends, there's nothing going on at all, she's got a boyfriend, that usual chestnut that you get told. And my friend and I actually drove to where she lived, and
you didn't do the knock on the door, did you?
we actually lie down in the car like this, you know, like and we saw them pull up, and so we're sort of there, and we're sort of further up, and the police pull up beside us, me and my friend, and they go, "Can we ask what you youngsters are doing?" And we went, and my mate turned around and he goes, "We're just courting." And I was like, "What?" And he went, "We're just courting." They went, "Okay." Well, anyway, we drove up and down, and I must have thought it was weird seeing this car with absolutely nobody driving it like this, you know. And they were obviously kissing and everything like that. And it took all my strength not to get out. So anyway, next I thought I'm going to get this. So I went and bought a Snoopy for my car. So I had a Snoopy air freshener, right? So by now it's getting creepy, because he's like, "So you've got one?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, you've got one. I've got
I
one."
like this.
And then it got to a point that it was like, I knew something was going on. He was denying it. He was making out I was going nuts. And one night we went to the cinema, and never forget it, to see The Jungle Book. She was there with her boyfriend, who was gorgeous, I have to say. Anyway, she went one way with her boyfriend. We were at the other. And I was like this the whole way throughout the film. Waiting for the moment that she went to the bathroom. Well, she went to the bathroom, and I went in after her. And oh my God. And literally, I waited till she came out the toilet, and she went to go past me, and I put my hand on the door like that, so she couldn't get out. And she went, and I went, "You enjoying the film?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's really good, isn't it?" I went, "Yeah, it's strange seeing you here. It's all one big happy family." And she went, yeah. Anyway, so I opened the door, and she went out, and she ran back in. And later I heard that she thought I was going to deck her or drown her, one of the two. And to me, it was like psychological. I had to get a grip of this. But what it told me at that early stage of my life, men lie easily to your face again and again. Even when you have evidence to show that they are lying, they still carry on lying. And you're like, but and then I brought out the letter. And after he carried on lying, I brought out the letter, and I went, "So," and I showed it to him, and he looked at me and he went,
"Whose is that?"
You know what they say? He said, "You know what they say?" He said, "Sometimes you just don't want steak at home, you want a beef burger outside." And I was
like, there is a relationship winner.
Jesus.
Actually, that was the end of our relationship. But what I'm saying is
sometimes you want a burger.
Instead of a
Would you like some fries with that shit?
I get so tired of having filet mignon and a beautiful prime rib that sometimes I have to just remind myself how lucky I am. And I got to go out for some of the 80-20 beef.
I was just going to say the 80-20.
To be fair, he and we're friends now. We got over that years ago. He's a wonderful friend, and he's a wonderful person. And he said to me, "I was young and stupid, and what the fuck did I know?" And I lost an amazing girlfriend over it. And I'm very grateful that he's still in my life as a friend. But what I'm saying is, it teaches us at a young age to get the evidence we need to prove that you guys are lying, and we do. Women are very good detectives.
Oh, we're the best.
We will search every nook and cranny until we have our evidence, and then we will bring it up bit by bit by bit.
Women come in.
Well, but sometimes that kind of thing bites you in the ass, though.
It does.
Because you have conditioning that does this. So Now we're dredging up all kinds of
Oh my God, it's
wonderful emotional shit for me. But my last relationship. So because of the traumas that she had been through in her previous relationships and things like that, and I'm sure some of the stuff that she had done in general, because it all adds up. You know, we all build this database of just bullshit that happens to us. So we have a reference point of, hold on, wait a minute. So and this goes back to, like, you know, why you got to deal with your demons and why you've got to deal with your baggage and you got to deal with it effectively.
Mhm.
So I got hemmed up by my ex-girlfriend over the fact that I still had vaguely regular meme and pet picture conversations with someone that I had dated in 2018 for all of 2 months. And we became friends because we understood that maturity wise, we were on two opposite ends of the
I
spectrum.
remember that person.
I was like, I'm like 11, 12 years older than her, right? So her whole view and outlook on life is entirely different from where, and it's funny because, like, now that she's in a stable relationship and she's getting some maturity, it's like you start seeing these things that come up where it's like, hey, remember that thing that you were taught? Yeah. Like, I get it now, right? But no romantical involvement, no, nothing, like, couldn't be further from that, right? And it's like, so, you know, I know, what was it she specifically said? I know that you're still talking to people that you shouldn't be talking to.
That you shouldn't be. Okay.
That you're talking to you're talking to a person that you shouldn't be talking to. And I'm like thinking to myself, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this person lives, you know, in St. Louis. They're involved with a dude who's an Air Force EOD guy. Like, they have this whole life plan going. And, like, she sends me pictures and videos of her German Shepherd Loki, because I was a German Shepherd person and I miss my German Shepherds. And so Susan's like, hey, Loki's being stupid. Check this out. Right? Like, it is possible for people to have a friendship after even a short romantic interlude. But because she had been so impacted by what other previous people had done, I get the brunt of this. Mm-hmm. She interprets my questioning about things with, so here we go. The guy she was dating before her and I started dating, her and I had a long conversation, and we were in, like, a friends group. This is why I don't date in the friends group type thing situations anymore, because the shit just gets stupid and messy.
Oh man.
Yeah. When you break up, you have to go through who gets the friends.
Right. Yeah. You know, he got the house and the divorce. No, you know, but it's like, you know, being there for your friends and things like that. I was the shoulder to cry on when she was complaining about her boyfriend and all these things that he would say that he was doing, or that, this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
And so it turns into this, like, thing of where at some point after her and that guy had broken up and her and I had started dating, you know, she tells me, she's like, oh, you know, Brian messaged me today. But the thing is when they were breaking up, right, Brian was messaging her, but she, like, got to this point where she just stopped responding to him. And instead of, like, being like, hey, just tell him you're done, otherwise he's going to sit there and keep bugging you, right? But it was like, how was it that she, trying to remember exactly the sequence of events, but basically it turns into this whole thing of, you know, he's getting really annoying. He's becoming very, very, you know, he's very much pestering me. It's very, like, I don't feel comfortable with it. And I was always just like, so tell him, right? Just tell him. And then fast forward this to, like, you know, later on, you've got, you know, Brian messaged me out of the blue, or this guy messaged me out of the blue, and da 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 da. Or no, it was Brian messaged me out of the blue, and I don't know, it's kind of uncomfortable with things, and because she had told me all this uncomfortable stuff, I asked questions. Well, is he being inappropriate? What's going on? Like, are you feeling uncomfortable, etc.? Right? So, I'm establishing these questions, trying to get a read of the situation and how, at that time, my significant other is feeling, right? Or being made to feel by this other person. That gets spun around on me later. You got all kinds of questions and super defensive when Brian was messaging me, but you don't tell me whenever I tell you when somebody's like, dude, you know why I don't tell you when Susan messages me? Here's why. And it has nothing to do with trying to hide any conversations I'm having with somebody I dated for all of 2 months. Because by the end of the day, and we're hanging out, I have literally forgotten about the conversations. I have literally, they hold such minuscule value to my day that I'm just not even thinking of it. And I don't even think to be like, Susan sent me another picture of that goddamn dog. I tell you, you're like, no. And it's like, what do you want me to do? So people, deal with your shit. The world will be a much better place if we all healthily deal with our shit.
Oh, I saw a comment here from Miss Nickerson. It says, my best friend is a guy, nothing romantic at all.
Right.
And most of the time, women who put guys in the friend zone, there might not be no romantic thoughts on her side, but he is playing the one. He's getting
like the long game.
That's it.
That's a good point. Very good point.
And like I said, and I was going to ask her, when she says it's nothing romantic at all, is she in denial? Because every guy who gets that close to a woman usually has the long game, and we've all saw it. She hears about how the constant boyfriend don't fulfill her needs. He ain't doing whatever she wants. All men are trash, and he's basically her simp, her yes man. Oh yes, honey, all men are garbage. Can you get undressed? Let me see your boobs. And if they're that good a friend, they always say, oh, it's nothing. We're just friends. Or he's like a girlfriend to me. Unless he is gay, he's trying to get in your knickers. So when I hear a woman say that, there's nothing romantical on this part, they're lying to themselves. Talking about the lies men tell. This guy is, like I said, playing the long game. He's like the guy who played like the gay guy to get in with all the cheerleaders so he could watch them undress. Here's a comment.
I swear it's the perfect angle. It's going to work. Check it out.
Brenda, thank you for coming to watch Wicked Women. It's always nice to have someone new join us. The thing is, you're quite right, and it's the same as women. When you guys have women friends, we do wonder that if there's going to be some little something along the way, because with all due respect, I speak from experience, and without going into the whole sordid story, I did date my ex-boyfriend's best friend, and it was probably the worst thing I ever did in my life. But I don't regret it, because it made me who I am today. And
but the way he got in was
bro code. There's a bro code that's out there, is that you never date one of your bro's ex-girlfriends.
That's what I always told my friends.
At least not for a while.
At least not for a while. But it has to be, a certain time of morning where we can approach her and say, okay, you can change out of your black dress now and veil, and we can date. But there's got to be an appropriate amount of time. You don't just jump right in. Oh,
you guys have been amazing. I mean, we have done 2.5 hours almost, and you guys have been amazing. You've been Keith and Val. Obviously, we lost Val because of her connection isn't great. But you've been so open and shared with us, and that's what Wicked Women is a show by women for women. But to have you guys come on and give us your feedback and your opinion, that helps.
It's like the Wizard of Oz. We pull the curtain back.
Yes.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
But Jason just had that look on his face where you just know that sooner or later there's that comment coming that you're just like,
Jason's got the whole
Got one in the chamber ready to roll.
I want to say a big thank you to Kay because she's not been on with us for a while, and we love having you on, Kay.
And she hung in there. She just stuck with it, dealing with the rest of us idiots over here.
Life kind of happened for a minute. So anyway, I'll
But-
As it does.
I hope you can come back and be. I mean, we're gonna next week is I think we're gonna do Christmas Eve. We're gonna do a Christmas Eve Wicked Women,
already,
and which is a Sunday. So I don't know if that's gonna work for you, Kay.
Oh, it's actually on Christmas Eve. The next one you're
It's
doing?
on Christmas Eve, yeah. It is.
Yeah, I unfortunately won't be able to join that, but I will. I can into January. I can do some.
Oh, I just noticed that Kate changed her background.
No, I moved out of my office because I have to get my light fixed, and it was just getting too dark in there. It was driving me nuts.
Yeah. I seen a Christmas tree, and I'm like, holy hell! Oh, that's nice.
Brenda,
you're well lit now.
You've
I'm
actually got
lit,
it
lit
right.
up.
Illuminated.
Illuminated.
Men ghost and gaslight you. It's just like, I don't know, it's totally different. Anyone makes you wonder if it's worth it. There are a lot of guys out there who don't want to be honest about a lot of things, and there's a lot of women out there who just want the old-fashioned love story. I can tell you, after being on a dating site for quite a while in the last couple of years, and I've met some very lovely people that have become friends after we don't date each other anymore, and some people, you know, that come into your life and make a difference. It is a very, and that's something that Scotty and I have talked about doing, or Wicked Women will do, is the dating, internet dating, because it's a huge subject. And so many people have asked Scotty and I to, and Wicked Women as well, to cover the gaslighting, the internet dating, you know, what the real thing is. So that's something I think that we will definitely look into doing, because it's a big subject. And Brenda, I hope you can come back, and we're here every Sunday, God willing, and every Tuesday on YouTube under Robertson, and every Sunday under Wicked Women. And my good friend Scotty is on 3 nights a week with his Intrepid radio show, and the lovely Ken is on most mornings for the Coffee with KB, right?
Kenny, are you
Yeah,
coming on this week?
I'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for morning coffee with me.
Right on.
You know. Yeah.
I was going to say,
Scotty,
JP, send
I
me your
have
free.
no show.
I was going to say,
No, you need to get one. You and Michael should start one. You Army boys and all that.
the Smoke Pit Vet Talk will be starting in January. I need to get your contact information. I'd love to have you on. We are sponsored by a Navy corpsman that is retired. He is now my primary care physician, and he's trying his best to get me healthy.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Steph.
Yeah. Just get my contact info from either Scotty or Wendy, and yeah, that'd be cool. The Smoke Pit, mental note made.
I will tell you, and I got to say
You
this
can
publicly
joke, right?
because it came to mind. Jason,
You
you
can
and
joke.
I do
The whole
need
smoke
to, one
We're
of
all-
these days,
Decisions from
plan that Indian motorcycle trip across Egypt.
Wait,
I love
it
Egypt.
changed to Egypt? I thought it was like cross country in general. When did we add Egypt? Not that I'm complaining, I'm just confused.
Did I just make that up out of somewhere? I don't know. I maybe it was Route 66 and then Egypt.
Oh,
I think it was Route
Thank you,
66.
Yes.
we can probably go for another 10 minutes or so on this subject, because Kay, can you stay or do you have to go?
Yeah, I can do 10 more minutes.
Yeah, we'll do 10 more minutes, because Brenda, thank you so much. And I'm glad that we've got new members coming on, because one thing we did when we started Wicked Women was the fact that we wanted to do a show for women by women, but we wanted to include guys' input, because women learn from other guys too. Like talking to you guys, we've got a different picture of what's really going on in some of your illustrious lives, and why you've been in those scenarios. With women, when we lie, it's a very, I'd say, would you say probably a more emotional, sneaky way of doing it, Kay? What do you think about that?
I definitely adopted the lying behavior when I was getting lied to after the first 3, 4, 5 years. I'm like, well, now I'm going to do it. I became a liar myself. So when I was telling Keith before,
Vindictiveness.
when you asked me before, when do people stop lying? That's when I knew, because it blew my life up and it blew his life up. And we both needed to hit rock bottom to become better people. So, but yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I honestly think women lie for the same reasons that men do in many ways. I really do. Sometimes it's to protect their persona, their ego. They don't want to hurt the person that they're with. Yeah.
I think that's very true. I mean, for me, it's like I had such a bad experience of the time that I didn't lie, but I didn't say the whole subject.
That's it. It's
And,
like omitting.
Omission.
Omitting
Yeah,
the truth.
like literally, it was like, you know, I wasn't lying because there wasn't anything to lie about, but I didn't say the whole subject. But I think now I just come out and say it. If I have a problem with someone, or I think there's something going on, but I still have moments where that person comes out where I clam up and I go, oh, I can't say that. I can't do that, because they'll think I'm crazy, or they'll think I'm, you know, and I've gone right back into that, you know, and as Jason says, it's good to deal with your demons, but sometimes you think you've dealt with them, you think you've buried them, you think you've moved on for them, and something will come up, and the next thing you know, it comes out screaming, and you're like, where did that flying monkey come from? I didn't expect that. You know, and Michael and I've, you know, I've chatted to Michael many hours, and Scotty, you know, of stuff that's happened in my life, and you just think to yourself, you know, am I crazy? Am I absolutely crazy? And they've gone, no, actually, you're not crazy. You're one of the most rational people I've met. They're trying to make you feel like you're crazy, and I think that's the dangerous point. Absolutely,
they want to make you feel you're at fault. It's your fault.
Yeah,
I got that's the whole thing with gaslighting. I mean, that's.
So, do you think omission of truth is as bad as lying?
It can be.
It depends on. I really think it depends on your intent. If I can omit facts or truths by error. Sometimes I will do it slightly for self-preservation. I'll omit that because I think, it's going to hurt her feelings, or I'm going to get in trouble. I'm a grown man, and I worry about getting in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble if I say that. And so I omit. I think you can also omit with some sort of treachery behind it and some sort of malice behind it. So omitting the truth can be just as bad as lying. Sometimes it's, you know, it's like that fine line, and these are way different things, but it's like when your wife says, do these jeans make my ass look big? You go,
no,
honey, it's your butt that makes your ass look big. Or do you say, yeah, it's the jeans? You go, no, man, those are great. Hello, come here.
You fill those out perfectly.
And you know, and in your head you're going, you know, 20 years ago they would look better on you than they do now. But are you omitting truth by not saying that? And by the way, I don't say that about.
And what about when you have to like?
You're saving grace, brother. You're saving grace.
What about when you lie sexually though? Because you know, if you're in that department and it's really bad, actually, you know, you're being.
If I know nothing about it, you're not the only one that can fake it.
That's right. That's right.
I'm just saying, you know.
Where did I hear that tagline before? I missed that.
That sounds familiar.
If I know nothing about it, you're not the only one that can fake it.
And they think they've given you the greatest time, and you're like, it was awful.
Yeah, that was terrible.
And how do you actually, you know, how do you actually go? Do you lie?
Guys, be honest. Have you ever turned over and looked at a woman and go, that was really good for you, wasn't it? I've never done anything like that.
It's usually fairly obvious when it is. You can pick up on the physical, you know, the body cues. Like
there are body cues. There are
copious, uncontrollable shaking.
I will say this much: when I was
the fact that they keep coming back.
If they're coming back, that's a telltale.
That's a good thing.
I mean, it's like
or they're lying to themselves.
And then you know, I'm being completely honest here, not because I've been in this situation, but I know people that have told me these stories when they promise they're going to be this great lover, and they've got like quite a fine piece of equipment for you, and then you discover that absolutely none of that is true, right? And you're kind of like, oh, I'm a
I
bit
never make
disappointed
any
now.
promises
Like,
ahead of time. You don't do that. You
what
just
is that
go,
famous like, you
Been there.
baby, I'm gonna rock
But
your world,
you know,
you know?
Wendy, it's like this.
Really?
It's like this. Like I said, when I was a young guy, I took this girl. This girl was hot, and she invited me over to have a little dinner and all that. I noticed she lit a fire by the fireplace and put a nice little thing on by the fireplace, you know. And one thing led to another, few drinks, you know. And I'll tell you what,
Penis.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I did it every which way you could. I heard a moan, and I think it was me moaning. I mean, if I'd have had a meal, I would have stuck it in her nose, make sure she was breathing. And then she would have the nerve to ask me, "Would you like to spend a night with me?" Nah, I think to myself, "You're not. I'm 20-some years old. You're not gonna give me no damn heart attack." I mean, I'm damn near sweating.
Yeah.
I think I heard a moan, but I think it was me moaning. You know, and I'll be honest with you guys. I ain't gonna lie to you. No, baby. Man, what time is it?
I think that was my hip
I gotta
tweaking.
be on duty in another 30 minutes.
That's what you call it. Dead.
Won't kill me.
That was,
Damn near
I got to
did.
tell you, sex was always something that when it was not with somebody I was married with, it was always something that was very, I was very trepidatious. I was very, well, you know, I wasn't as bad as, well, yeah, sure, Miss Robinson, if you really like some. You know, I wasn't bad like that. It was just like, it was something I was afraid to get into unless I really liked the person or I knew that they really liked me. I just wasn't into the, and you already know this, Wendy, I just wasn't into because we've talked about this on Robertson. I wasn't into the let's just do this just for the sake of doing it.
The hookup scene.
I was always nervous that inside, maybe I tried to be confident. Maybe sometimes that's guys trying to be overconfident because they're afraid of their performance level. You know, I don't know what it is, but I would never come across, pardon the pun, I never came across cocky to women when it came to sex. I just didn't want to do that because I thought, well, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not good? What if this woman I've been courting with words for 3 months and we're finally getting together?
3 months.
And well, whatever. Come on now. Yeah. There was an attorney that I met at an Irish pub, and all the guys we affectionately referred to as the prosecutor after that. But somebody that we talked for about 2 or 3 weeks via email, because it was pre all the chat room. This was early 90s, no 2000s. And so we were talking, and she said to me, she said, maybe we ought to stop all this online talking, just get together and go out. And I thought, that is a fantastic idea. And I got to tell you, I was nervous about that because it was like, well, shucks, ma'am, I hope I'm good enough. And, you know, of course, you don't put the cart before the horse. You know what I'm talking about. When it comes down to that, you're like, oof. You know, I didn't want to come across like somebody who was arrogant or full of myself, which I suppose is another way of saying arrogant. So
I think for me, when I listen to you guys, it's you come from such different backgrounds and different, you know, adventures and stories. But for me, one of the dangerous points of lying is when somebody promises to do something for you. Promises to be a certain way, and they give you the whole spiel of how it's going to be. It's going to be like this. We're going to do this. It's going to be like that. And then they change their mind, and everything they've told you and everything they've said turns out to be, well, I thought it at the time, or maybe it was a good idea at the time, or maybe my expectations. It's like, I've always said, if you don't feel it, don't say it. Don't promise something if you're not going to back it up, right? Shut up. Don't, because in the end, it's bullshit. You know, or bullshit, as I like to say, it's bullshit. And it's like, I think that's It's a
In
form of.
in a certain level of fairness. Okay.
Oh my God!
Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, so
Can't
here's the thing.
I'm looking
Every and I'm not saying that anything that you're saying is wrong. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with
me or Wendy.
Wendy.
Both.
Okay.
Sure. Everybody. I'm just everybody. No. So yeah, there is, that is a problem to say things and then have it be, turn around and change your mind or have a different stance later. But unfortunately, that's kind of one of the realities of life. There are certain things that just are not set. And when you enter into something, you can feel everything in the world for that person. You can want everything in the world for that person and to be with that person and promise those things. And the unfortunate reality is, setting all of the fairy tale and fantasy kind of things that we come to, aspire to and look for and search for in our lives. When the metal meets the meat and the rubber meets the pavement and you're actually dealing with real life, sometimes that shit changes.
Yes.
And sometimes you're going to be like, you know what? I did think all of this. I did believe all of this, but there is, such a level of impracticality to this moving forward, emotionally, mentally, logistically, whatever the things are. Life happens, and so you can promise a lot, and I think the big thing is what's the intent behind that?
Mhm.
Is there a real intent behind? Yes, I want to pursue this, and then once you get into the situation, okay, yeah, this
I
isn't
guess
doing either of us any good.
That whole thing is
Yeah.
a paradigm, Wendy, that on the heels of what Jason just said, that I'm not familiar with because I was never that way. I never saw myself, I still don't see myself as ever having tried to come on to women a certain way so they had these unrealistic expectations of what I was or who I was, because I always viewed it as if there was somebody I wanted to go that far with, it was generally somebody that I thought, I wasn't a one night stand type of guy. I just didn't like doing that. It would just
Can't stand one night stand.
What's that?
I can't stand the one night stand thing. That's not to say that I haven't done a couple of those in my life, but after I have, it's just like, why, God, did I do this? This is just.
It's like, yeah. And you ask yourself that. And there was somebody that pursued me after one of those. And I was like, I am so sorry. This is just not what I want. We got ourselves into that situation. I allowed it to happen. So did you. We're adults. Don't want this. I can't do this. I can't do this with you. Mm-hmm. And, it was just one of those things. And how
I
do
think
you be
it's
honest about that after that?
We need
just to say that.
We certainly need more men like that, because a lot of guys come up with all the talk, and I think a lot of women, they get promised the world, and vulnerable women as well, and it can really play with their head. It's been the most amazing show, and I've had, it's just flown past, and we've had all you guys coming on. Thank you so much to all of you for coming in and giving Val and Kay and I your worldly wise advice.
About wise.
Well, I'm being polite.
Questionable. Yeah.
By
Okay.
the way, Wendy, can I say one more thing of relative importance?
Of course.
Last Robertson we did, we talked about friends with benefits, that type of thing. Now, how does that segue with one night stands a little bit? I just saw Steph say exactly, no one night stands, but that's not love bombing, Scotty, she said. So when you have a friend and you've decided to go that extra mile and you do that, what do you do with that? And I'm not trying to open up a can of worms. I'm not playing a Professor Bauer here and at the last minute of the show opening up a half-hour segment. Professor, if you're out there, that was for your benefit. Maybe we'll talk about that on our show on Tuesday.
For sure. And I will just, say that we hope Wicked Women will be back next Sunday at 10 o'clock UK time. And Michael, can you give the other times? Because you're very good at it. It's 3 p.m. Mountain time.
If it's 10 o'clock UK time, it's 5 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Central time. Central time. Then Mountain time is an hour past that. What time is it for you? Yeah, me and JP have sort of learned like time zones. And they always say super time.
Okay,
and then I'm one of those guys that's like, oh, it's 1835 hours right now.
Yes.
1835 hours. Yes.
But before JP rolls out of his office or whatever, I got a funny story. He's talking about men who lie about sexual gratification or whatever, and they tell all these women. I actually got called to the barracks one night about 3 o'clock in the morning because I had a soldier that fancies himself a ladies' man.
Oh shit!
Lies. You know what I'm saying? This guy could sell ice to Eskimos. So, and we had done barracks inspection before, and I noticed he had this big WWE belt that hung over his bed, and I thought, well, maybe it's just a fan. But he had come up with this whole scenario. He'd probably seen it online or something. So after he'd talk his girls back into his single soldier barracks, which if you've ever seen one, they look like a quarter of a hotel room.
They look like a half of a can.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not for entertaining. It's to store your army issued shit and lay your head down, wash your ass. As long as you're buddy, unless you're E5 or above, then you get 2 rooms. A little more set up for entertaining, but you still got like a half cooktop. So this girl had went off, I guess, after she had came over. He grabs this belt and throws it over his head and scares the fuck out of her. He's like, hey, bitch, you just been fucked by the champ. And he grabs this big old belt, jerks it up over his head, flips her out. She's running out naked, which everybody, so everybody shows up. And they always say shit rolls downhill. But if you belong to somebody, they're going to start calling your NCO because somebody else has already called. Sergeant Major, First Sergeant has called you. Go get your fucking boy. So I show up, sleeping one eye, hungover, smelling of whiskey. I said, what made you think this is a good idea? He said, I thought it was funny. I said, this bitch is in tears. I'm out of bed. My ex-wife then was like, oh, she was doing her own thing, but if I had to leave, she thought I was up to something. So I'm out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I'll go back to, but in his mind, it wasn't a lie to him. He probably thought he had just given this girl the best time of her life. He thought she had been banged by the champ, and he had the, what do you call it? The props of the business, like from Scotty doing years of like, what do you call it? Like the theater or whatever.
One night stands and
he had the belt.
He probably also had a 28% APR on a V6 Mustang.
That's right.
That's it. Yeah, and a stripper. Yeah. They say, oh yeah, I bought this V6 Mustang.
He wears Wrangler cowboy shirts. And,
if this show takes off the smoke pit, do you call it the smoke pit? Wasn't it?
Yeah, smoke pit. Yeah, JP gets it because all your command decisions are made in the smoke
pit.
It'll
be really interesting to watch it, and I should be able to.
Well, there's 2 smoke pits though. There's the smoke pit, and then there's the pit where you go to get smoked, which means you get PT'd until the person PTing you gets tired. So
that's what I was telling you earlier.
They called it thrashing in the Marine Corps. We're gonna thrash.
Yeah. The little female drill sergeant that I'm saying about, she told me, she said, I will make the walls bleed. And I thought, how does that work? I figured out the walls will sweat and they will bleed.
Let's do this on again. Thank you so much to everybody that's come on. I know Kay has to go, and literally it's 20-1 here in the UK, which is fine, but literally I've had a great time. Thank you so much. Ken, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Really lovely you being here. Thank you so much, honey. And JP, what can I say? He's never going to let me forget that you sent me out. But thank you for your input. You've been brilliant. Thank you, my dear. See you soon.
No problem. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Scotty, it's like always a pleasure to have you on this show.
Always a pleasure to be here.
It's so lovely to have you here. And just for everyone, Tuesday, Robertson,
Tuesday
Fingers
at
crossed.
4 Central, which would be 5 Eastern, 2 in the afternoon Pacific time, and any time in between there. If you're in Australia, you travel into the future, and it's tomorrow at 2 p.m. So
And we'll have a good subject because we didn't actually do last week because I don't know what happened, but we will. No, I couldn't do it, and then you can do it the week before. But we will be back on Tuesday to bring. So please come and join Robertson and my lovely podcaster hubby over there. Thank you so much, darling, for joining us. Thank you.
thank you. Good to be here, broadcasting wifey.
Love you.
Talk to
Bye,
you soon.
guys.
Michael, but yet again, thank you so much for joining us. I can see you with Poseidon there. Thank you so much for joining us. And
He has laid down and been good for as long as he can. Now he needs hugs. And but he's been a good boy. So, he's come in a couple times to check on me. And
but thank you for coming on and joining and being part of the show. Thank you. And see you next week. I just want to thank everybody that's come on tonight. You've been amazing. It's been an amazing podcast. It's been an amazing topic. I didn't realize this topic would be so emotive and so many people would find and get something from it. I'm sorry we lost Val. Val's obviously had really bad weather tonight. So she was kind of hanging on, but she hung on. So thank you, Val, and we'll see you next week. And to the lovely Kay, always a pleasure from Calgary when she joins us. So wherever you are, whether you're joining us from the UK, from America, from Canada, wherever you are, we hope you've got something out of Wicked Women tonight. We hope you've really enjoyed the show. It's always a pleasure. It's so nice for us to be back. I will see you again Tuesday night on Robertson on YouTube. Look for it. That's Roberts N. Robertson. And I will see you again on next Sunday. She says, looking for the music. I will see you again on next Sunday's show at 10 o'clock. Please come and join us. Look for the ads that are what we're going to talk about. And until then, have a great evening. Take care of yourself and each other.